from an African country that is either on a study tour or something related in our parliament. However, Mr. Speaker, I have been quick to point out that hardly do you find a request, and you would bear me witness, on your desk for approval of members from the Kenyan parliament that are visiting other African countries for study. This obsession with other capitals of the world, Mr. Speaker, and leaving our own is the very reason why Africa continues to remain backward, Mr. Speaker. If we can trade, learn from each other, sharpen each other's skills, that is what will make us better as a continent. Therefore, on that account, among as many other reasons, Mr. Speaker, I celebrate this visiting delegation from Namibia. I look forward, Mr. Speaker, to an invitation from them to the leadership of this House on any particular matter, Mr. Speaker, that will be of interest, because I believe Namibia is our peer as a republic, and there are many things that we can learn from this beautiful country, Mr. Speaker. And an invitation to us, or even initiated from our side, will be a welcome study opportunity for us as members of the Senate to appreciate their democracy and the many things for which Namibia has excelled better than us as a country, Mr. Speaker. And I believe that's one of the ways in which we can promote Pan-Africanism, Mr. Speaker. Of course, Namibia still holds a very special place to the people that I represent in this House. The last two Kenyan ambassadors to the country of Namibia have come from the county that I represent in this House. Ambassador Benjamin Langat, who's now Member of Parliament for Enamoy, served there for the last 3 years. And the present ambassador, the immediate former clerk of the National Assembly, Ambassador Michael Sialai, also hails from Kericho County. Therefore, this is a very special delegation to us in the fact that our own sons have represented this country in their country, and both of the two gentlemen are my friends, and I have very fond memories of the kind of stories they share and lessons, especially on agriculture, and how they have excelled as a country, despite them facing challenges that are almost similar to ours in terms of rain availability and such matters, Mr. Speaker, is something worth emulating. Therefore, I welcome this delegation. I hope to interact with them in the course of their stay and study here with us, and wish them well. May they enjoy to their field. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Manzo.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me an opportunity to welcome the team from Makueni County Assembly to the Senate. And also, Mr. Speaker, welcome the team from Namibia. Mr. Speaker, a few years ago, I visited Namibia, and we were treated very well in their country. And they are a very good example of water recycling. So we look forward to interact with them and to learn more. And Kenya has a very good history between Namibia and Kenya in relation to the struggle for freedom, for independence in those two countries. Mr. Speaker, I met part of the team from Makueni County this morning when they attended committee proceedings in the Committee of Delegated Legislation, and they're really learning, and I believe when they go back to the county, they'll be able to copy and implement what they have seen the practice here in Senate from their different departments, Mr. Speaker. We really look forward for more counties coming here to learn, so that the Senate becomes a very good template for the county assemblies. I really welcome them and look forward into interacting with them further and making them learn more so that they can make the county assembly of Makueni better. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions.
Honorable Senator Chirenge.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Petition on unfair terms and conditions for universal health coverage, UHC staff, and delay in internship posting. Mr. Speaker, we, the duly registered health sector unions, associations, and societies with constitutional and legal mandate of championing the labor interest and professional welfare of all health workers employed by both level of governments, that is the national and county governments, being citizens of the Republic of Kenya, and authorized representatives, officials, together with the UHC staff or Universal Health Coverage staff, and interns who have sought our representation, draw the following attention of the Senate to the following. That in April 2020, Mr. Speaker, sir, a group of health workers were recruited under 1-year Universal Health Coverage internship contract to boost efforts on the achievement of universal health as well as aid in the fight against COVID-19. They were given personal numbers but released from service after 1 year of service, leaving a shortage that remains uncovered to date in their previous workstations. They are unable, Mr. Speaker, sir, to get any other employment in public service since they have personal numbers under the Ministry of Health. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, in June 2020, at the height of COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Health employed about 9,000 on a 3-year contract of UHC and deployed them in different county governments across the country. Their contracts are coming to an end in May 2023. Mr. Speaker, sir, the UHC staff have been diligently providing critical health services across the country since they were engaged. These contracts attracted a consolidated salary that have seen them earn half of what their peers working in the same environment. In February 2023, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Intergovernmental Summit sitting in Naivasha resolved that the Ministry of Health to extend the contracts of UHC staff for a further period of 3-year term under the same terms and conditions. Mr. Speaker, sir, these staff are disturbed and demotivated by this development as they had valid expectations that they would have been observed on permanent and pensionable terms or their remuneration improved to be equal with their peers whom they work together under same conditions but earning different. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, under Article 259 of the Constitution of Kenya provides that the Constitution must be interpreted in a manner that promotes its purpose, values, and principles, advance the rule of law and human rights and fundamental freedoms in the Bill of Rights, permits the development of the law, and contributes to good governance. Under Article 41, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, we are entitled to constitutional privilege of fair labor practices, this being human right. The article reads in Part 41, Labor Relations 1, every person has a right to fair labor practices. Every worker has a right to fair remuneration or salary, Mr. Speaker. Internship contract is recognized under the Employment Act as a contract of service under apprenticeship or endured learnership, and therefore entitled to enjoy the protection of Article 41 of the Constitution. Both UHC staff and interns submit that they have suffered unfair remuneration as their remuneration has not followed the principle of equal work, equal pay for equal work. This act is not only unfair but discriminatory in nature and goes against the doctrine of fair labor practice ordained in Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, as well as the Employment Act number 11 of 2007, Laws of Kenya on Fair Labor Practices, and Mr. Speaker, sir, that both Article 27 of the Constitution and Section 5 of the Act prohibit discrimination on the basis of race, color, sex, language, religion, political or any other opinion, nationality, ethnicity or social origin, disability, pregnancy, marital status, or HIV status. Section 5(7) of the Act provides that when discrimination has been alleged by an employee, the burden of proof shifts to the employer, who must show that it did not take place. Mr. Speaker, sir, according to the Constitution of Kenya, all human beings are born equal and are equal before the law. Section 5 of the Employment Act provides that it is illegal to discriminate any facet of employment. It also provides that an employer shall promote equal opportunities in employment and shall ensure that policies and practices of the organization discourage discrimination. The law disallows discrimination in the process of recruitment, training, promotion, terms and conditions of employment, termination of employment, and other matters related to employment. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Public Service Commission Human Resource Policies and Procedures Manual for Public Service, May 2016, recognizes the establishment, initiation, and management of internship programs in Kenya. The same states inter alia, internship programs shall be guided by the relevant provisions of the Constitution. Relevant professional bodies and other policy guidelines shall not exceed 1 year. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, the internship is a legal requirement and a prerequisite for licensure and independent practice. The Ministry of Health is mandated to ensure that all officers are facilitated by posting to internship centers and paying their salary or stipend, whereas some cadres, e.g. pharmaceutical technologists, nutritionists, and dietitians are not paid that stipend. Mr. Speaker, sir, these interns were supposed to be posted in December 2022, but this has not happened to date, of great concern in the fact that we have seen other interns being posted without any communication on when the remaining interns are to be posted. Mr. Speaker, sir, also while other interns are paid using job group in the health sector, diploma clinical officers are only paid a meager allowance that can cater to their basic needs during the internship. Mr. Speaker, sir, delay in internship posting delay licensure and therefore creates anxiety, denies the graduates opportunity to work and contribute to health service delivery, as well as interruption of skills mastery process, which impacts on the quality of health services delivered in the future. Mr. Speaker, sir, the African Charter on Human and People Rights, to which Kenya became a state party on 23rd January 1992, and in particular, Article 3.2, which provides that every person is entitled to equal protection of the law. Mr. Speaker, sir, Article 5, which provides that every individual shall have the right to the respect of the dignity inherent in a human being. Mr. Speaker, sir, Article 9, which provides that every individual shall have the right to receive information and to express, disseminate his opinions within the law. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Senate has the powers to find a solution to this discrimination on unfair labor practices against the UHC staff and other who are supposed to be on internship program. That, Mr. Speaker, sir, we have made every effort to have the matter addressed by the relevant bodies, including Ministry of Health, but the responses have not, the response has, let me take that one, but the responses has not, and in other cases has been unsatisfactory. Mr. Speaker, sir, none of the issues raised in this petition are pending before any court of law, constitution, or any other legal body. Wherefore, your ample petitioners, Mr. Speaker, sir, pray as follows. That, one, the Senate investigates the issues raised and intervenes on the matter of discrimination and unfair remuneration of the health workers, including the one at UHC and others in internship. Mr. Speaker, sir, number 2, prayer, make recommendation on such programs, including adequacy of resources, better terms of engagement, as Mr. Speaker, sir, finally recommends the appropriate measures for which such programs, including internship and posting of health workers, and even that one were removed under UHC, Mr. Speaker, sir. That is countersigned, Mr. Speaker, alongside other practitioners like David Atela, Secretary General of KMPDU, Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Union, Mr. George Kibore, Secretary General, Kenya Union of Clinical Officers, Mr. Pius Nyakundi, General Secretary, Kenya National Union, Medical Laboratory Officers, Mr. Speaker, sir, Elias Mutuma, General Secretary, Kenya National Union of Pharmaceutical Technologists and Officers, Michael Ouma, General Secretary, Kenya Union of Nutritionists and Dietitians, Peter Ayeko, General Secretary, Kenya National Union of Biomedical Engineers of Kenya, Samuel Karanja, Honorable Secretary, Society of Radiography in Kenya, Mr. Speaker, sir, Moses Lore, Secretary General, Kenya Health Professional Society, Mr. Speaker, sir, Mohammed Duba, Secretary General of Association of Public Health Workers, Mr. Speaker, among others, the unions, Mr. Speaker, sir. With those very, very remarks, I thank you for allowing me to read this petition. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, can you have your seats, please? Honorable Senators, Senator Omtata, you're out of order, and that is my first warning. The second, I may have to ask you to withdraw. Honorable Senators, pursuant to Standing Order 237, I shall now allow comments, observations, and clarifications in relation to the petition for not more than 30 minutes. Looking at the dashboard, I have several senators wishing to make contributions to this petition. And therefore, with a limited time of 30 minutes, I will allow per speaker or per senator contributing to this petition a maximum of 3 minutes. Senator Osotsi.
Mr. Speaker, I do not wish to contribute to this one. The next one.
Now, honorable senators, this habit of you walk in, key in, and go to the lounge, you clog the queue. If you don't wish to contribute, please do not clog the dashboard, kindly, so that we can only have those who are wishing to contribute on the dashboard. Senator Aaron Cheriot.
You know, Mr. Speaker, the reason I'm laughing is because Senator Osotsi, we are told, or someone told us yesterday, is a leading IT expert on the Azimio side. So I'm wondering, Mr. Speaker, if he's struggling with basic technology, such as the gadgets of the House, how can he then do the technology work that is needed to do in Azimio, Mr. Speaker? Anyway, I now understand the source of the difficulty with technology. Mr. Speaker, this is a very important petition that Senator Cherargei has brought before this House. It's not the first time that we are hearing about the mistreatment of what you'd call UHC workers. That's what they are commonly referred to. If you check in all your counties, Mr. Speaker, you'll realize that during the COVID pandemic, national government, through its intervention or trying to show up healthcare management in all our 47 counties, did a universal recruitment of Kenyans, and they were all sent to the various county governments. There were very lofty promises. So many young people applied with lots of enthusiasm, and they believed that finally they had met their destiny and they were going to serve their country and be proud while at it. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, thus has not come to fruition. It has not come to fruition because there seemed to be a push and pull between the Council of Governors and the national government. Council of Governors maintain on one end that the wages with which they were recruited, one, is unsustainable, and two, they cannot afford to add it to their books, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, during this push and pull, these honorable citizens, trained medics that have dedicated a lot of their time and money studying on how to ply their trade and serve the citizens of the country, have continued to suffer, Mr. Speaker. It is my sincere hope that the health committee, Mr. Speaker, will get to the bottom of this matter so that they can advise the Finance and Budget Committee, because at the heart of this dispute are budgetary issues. Who will eventually carry the blame? Because Council of Governors insist that the only way they can continue to maintain this staff is via conditional grant, something which the national government has said health is a devolved function. We only hired to show up the numbers during the COVID pandemic. Now take responsibility. I hope the health committee can give a lasting solution so that the young men and women that are suffering in all our 47 counties can lay their struggles to rest and serve their country with pride, Mr. Speaker. It's unfortunate that people who have gone to school, taken time to study, have to live on sometimes 3 months contracts, 6 months, or 1 year in some of the best counties. In fact, in most counties, they are being paid as casual laborers, which is really unfortunate, Mr. Speaker. So I expect that the Health Committee will do justice to this matter and conclude on it quickly. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had the privilege of sitting in on the sessions by the Health Committee, chaired by Senator Mandago yesterday, when many of these health workers were presenting their issues to the committee. Mr. Speaker, there is simply no justification because our constitution provides that...
Senator Methu.
Mr. Speaker, I hope that my time will be compensated. But the point that I was making, Mr. Speaker, is that under our constitution, it is really discriminatory and unfair labor practices for people performing the same work under the same conditions in the same facilities to earn different salaries, Mr. Speaker. So I am in support of this petition by the UHC workers that, in fact, we have no justification. And I want to encourage the majority leader that we cannot look anywhere else for the solution because the solution is in this Senate, Mr. Speaker. I am aware that in the next few days, the Division of Revenue Bill is going to land here. We have made the argument that, in fact, if we do not sort out the question of full financing of county functions, then we are wasting time. I am hoping that the majority leader and the majority side, when that bill comes here, will put their money where their mouth is and send the requisite resources to the counties in order that we can fully fund financing and to ensure that we hire all the people who are medical workers, especially under the UHC. We were told there are counties that have not hired a single doctor in the past 5 years, Mr. Speaker. And the medical professionals are there. 4,000 people who are already qualified and are unable to work, find work in the public sector, Mr. Speaker. So as a Senate, we will not run away from this issue by saying it's not clear whose duty it is. It is the responsibility of devolved units to finance health fully, and we must find the money to support the hiring of these UHC workers and other health workers within the county setup. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Veronica. These are the honorable senators who key in and walk out. It shall be disorderly of senators to do that. I hope as you are looking at the amendment of the standing orders, you'll put that as a disorderly conduct. Senator Mandago.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very pertinent issue that my Committee of Health is seized of the matter. We had the opportunity yesterday to have a sitting with a number of unions. But, Mr. Speaker, there are things that needs to be put into perspective. Mr. Speaker, as we have had the Senator for Nairobi saying we cannot continue blame games here and there because health is a devolved function, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
What is your point of order, Senator Kenywa?
Bwana Spika, kwa sababu Senator Mandago ndio mwenyekiti wa hiyo kamati, ningeona ingekuwa vizuri ongee mwisho, akuje mwisho Bwana Spika, ndio tuweze kuchangia alafu asikize vile ambavyo tumechangia, aongee mwisho na tupe uamuzi huo kulingana vile ninavyosema. Naomba Bwana Spika.
Senator Kenywa, it is not a requirement because the chairperson is not required to make a response to all the contributions that senators are making. As you're aware, at the end of it, the petition will be committed. So if the chair has a contribution to this petition now, as a senator, it's within his right to do so. Secondly, Senator Kenywa, once you raise on a point of order, the first thing you need to do is to state the standing order that you're relying on a point of order. We wouldn't want a situation where senators just stand on a point of order and basically quote nothing. You know, it is good practice that you tell us exactly which particular standing order that you're invoking. That is the practice as given in the standing orders. So Senator Mandago, kindly proceed. It's within your right to contribute.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, there are a number of other pertinent issues, and we want to agree with this petition that other than the UHC staff, Mr. Speaker, we also have internship programs for the various cadres of health, Mr. Speaker, and some cadres are given stipends during internship. There are others who don't get any stipend. And for those stipends that are being paid, it also varies for the same cadres in the different trainings, Mr. Speaker. But Mr. Speaker, I want to say this. The reason Ministry of Health has continued to hire workers to perform devolved function is because the ministry in itself is inherent in clawing back on the devolution function, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, the reason counties cannot recruit is because the money that is meant for devolved function is still sitting in Afia House, Mr. Speaker. And Mr. Speaker, I want to urge this House that during the division of revenue, Mr. Speaker, our position as Senate that counties must be given a minimum of 425, Mr. Speaker. The idea of being told there are no funds, Mr. Speaker, I want to tell this House, the balance from 425 to 385 is actually in Ministry of Health that is being held in the ministry, continuing to perform functions that are meant to be done by county governments. So it is upon this House, Mr. Speaker, to make sure that the devolved function of health is performed by counties. Mr. Speaker, we cannot continue as a Senate that is supposed to protect devolution to allow the growth of the budget of Ministry of Health exponentially from when devolution started, when the function of health has been devolved. As we speak, we have more than 10,000 health facilities being managed by county governments. The Ministry of Health, the civil servants, the bureaucrats in that ministry must be willing to release the funds they are holding in Ministry of Health. We cannot allow as a Senate to continue allowing ministries to undermine county governments so that counties look like they are unable to perform their functions. Number two, Mr. Speaker, the question of training, which has been a thorn in the flesh, Mr. Speaker, for health workers. Doctors need to go for training. National government are supposed to foot a bill, but they never allow for release of funds for training so that counties look like they don't want to support the health sector to grow. Mr. Speaker, this petition is very pertinent, and I want to say that as the chair of that committee, we shall be well seized of the matter and we shall properly.
Senator Enoch.
Us.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I stand in support of the petition brought to the floor of this House by Senator Cherage. And Mr. Speaker, before I even make my comments, this goes to Senator Madago. The Wiper Democratic Movement is ready to give him a direct ticket in 2027. He is speaking the language of the people. Mr. Speaker, this matter, Mr. Speaker, of UHC and the way we have treated our medical personnel in this country, it's actually a shame. It is a shame, Mr. Speaker, because we were told the other day we have more than 4,000 medical doctors who are tamarking in the streets. It's a shame. And the solution, as Senator Sifuna said, the solution, the Speaker, is in this Senate. It's not even in the National Assembly. The Speaker, the solution to the problems that are being faced by the health sector in our counties is to ensure that funds follow functions of the counties, Mr. Speaker. And because division of revenue is coming very soon, I see pretensions by a lot of people pretending that they can allocate money to counties. Mr. Speaker, the only house that can allocate money to counties is Parliament. The National Executive has no business allocating money to counties. And so when that matter comes to the floor of this House, I want to see the majority side led by my friend, my brother, Senator of Kericho, putting the right foot forward and making sure that the people of Kericho get proper medical care by ensuring that we send 425 billion Kenya shillings to the counties. Mr. Speaker, I support.
Senator Kenywa.
Asante Bwana Spika. Hili dua ambalo limeletwa na Senator Cheriot naunga mkono Bwana Spika. Kwa sababu wauguzi wamekuwa wakiwa na shida sana Bwana Spika. Na ukiangalia hili jambo limeanza kitambo Bwana Spika. Nikiwa katika chama, nikiwa katika hiyo kamati Bwana Spika ya Bwana Spika, nimechanganywa kidogo na yule kiongozi wa Wiper ambaye amesema.
Just proceed. Honorable senators, may the senator be heard in silence, please.
Charagendi ananichanganya Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono dua hilo na kusema ya kwamba wauguzi wanapaswa waangaliwe Bwana Spika. Ukitembea katika kaunti zote zetu za humu nchini, Bwana Spika, wakati kulikuwa na ugonjwa wa COVID, walikuwa wameajiriwa wengi na kukawa na mkataba ambao waliokuwa wamepewa, lakini sasa Bwana Spika, baada ya ule ugonjwa kuondoka, unapata wanaonekana hakuna jambo lolote wanaonekana kufanya Bwana Spika, kulingana na wale ambao wamewaajiri Bwana Spika. Vile tungependa Bwana Spika kama seneti, kwa sababu wameleta malalamishi yao hapa Bwana Spika, wamesema ya kwamba tuyaangalie. Ndiposa Bwana Spika, nilikuwa nimesimama kuuliza mwenyekiti wa kamati ya afya waangalie hayo mambo kwa undani Bwana Spika. Tusianze kuyapapasa haya mambo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu Bwana Spika, hili ni donda sugu, haya ni mambo nyeti ambayo yanapaswa kuangaliwa kwa kina. Bwana Spika, madaktari ni wengi ambao wako katika kaunti zetu, gatuzi zetu Bwana Spika, hawana kazi Bwana Spika. Ukiangalia kwamba wengine tayari wamepewa nambari ambayo kusema ya kwamba wameajiriwa na serikali, kwa hivyo hawawezi wakatafuta kazi mahali pengine Bwana Spika. Bwana Spika, ni vizuri kamati ambayo inahusika ishughulikie haya mambo Bwana Spika, kwa sababu watu wanaendelea zaidi kujiunga na hii idara Bwana Spika, ilhali unaona na Bwana Spika wale walioko hawalipwi. Bwana Spika, ukitembea katika kaunti zetu unapata hawa mauguzi Bwana Spika wanafanya kazi nyingi lakini hawalipi Bwana Spika. Kwa hivyo wakati hela zinapoletwa hapa katika Senate, tuigawe huo mgao na waweze kuongezewa pesa ambazo zinalipa madaktari wetu. Na Bwana Spika, imekuwa ukiangalia kidogo Laikipia, madaktari walikuwa wamefutwa Bwana Spika. Na nashukuru governor wa Laikipia kwa sababu alirudisha wale, tulishirikiana na yeye tukarudisha wale madaktari Bwana Spika. Na hilo jambo tutaendelea kuliangalia Bwana Spika.
Just hold on, Senator Kenywa. Senator Gloria, you cannot roam the length and width of this house as if you're inspecting a chicken banda for over 10 minutes. I've watched you for the last 5 minutes, pacing up and down. Now I'm going to read this standing order for your benefit. Except we are passing to and from his or her seat, or when speaking, every senator when in the chamber shall be seated and shall not at any time stand in any of the passages and gangways. Kindly proceed to take your seat. Out of order. Proceed, Senator Kenywa.
Asante Bwana Spika. Na natumai muda wangu ulikuwa umesimamishwa Bwana Spika ulipokuwa ukitoa Bwana Spika, mimi nasema ya kwamba ukitembea katika sehemu za Laikipia Bwana Spika, uende na nyuki, unapata kuna madaktari wako pale na wanaendelea kukaa kwa hali ambayo ni duni sana Bwana Spika, kwa sababu mshahara wanaolipwa Bwana Spika hautoshi, na wale ambao ni wako pale wa ziada Bwana Spika, wauguzi wanaishi maisha ya uchochole. Kwa hivyo sina nyuki peke yake, Nyahururu, Kinamba Bwana Spika, Rumuruti, kuna madaktari wengi hata zahanati zetu zilizoko Bwana Spika. Walionekana kana kwamba walikuwa wazuri tu wakati kulikuwa na huu ugonjwa, lakini baada ya huu ugonjwa kwenda chini Bwana Spika, inaonekana ni kama wamewachwa na hawaangaliwi. Bwana Spika, kamati hii ambayo inaongozwa na Mandago ulivalie hili swala njuga, uliangalie kwa kina Bwana Mandago, na najua kwa sababu wewe umekuwa katika zile county, unajua shida hizi madaktari wanazo.
Your time is up, Senator Kenywa. Senator Eddie Okech.
It's me. It came out.
Senator Ed Okech, it's not up to you when called upon to speak to pass it to any senator that you wish. That is a prerogative of the chair. So if you're not willing to speak at this juncture, please do not nominate somebody to speak on your behalf. Senator Mudhama Agnes Kavindu.
Bwana Spika, nakushukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii nikaweze kuchangia kwa hii mada ambao Senator Cherargei ameleta. Bwana Spika, madaktari ni watu wanafanya kazi ngumu sana. Kwa sababu madaktari hata usiku, sisi tukiwa usingizini tumelala, utawapata kwenye hospitali wakihudumia wagonjwa. Na Bwana Spika, ni kweli kabisa madaktari wanastahili kuangaliwa. Na kwa hivyo hii pesa ambazo madaktari wanastahili kupatiwa, Ministry ya Health haistahili kupinga chochote kutolewa kama vile ambavyo imeamuliwa na seneta na seneti na parliament. Ni lazima watoe hivyo hizo pesa ziende mashinani zikaweze kuhudumia madaktari wetu. Bwana Spika, hakuna watu hufanya kazi ngumu kama madaktari. Kwa sababu hata mtu akiwa katika hali mahututi ambao hawezi kukaa kwake nyumbani, utampata anahudumiwa na daktari, na daktari atahudumia mgonjwa mpaka huyo mgonjwa atoke hospitalini akiwa mtu mzima, akiwa anaweza kujisaidia katika hali zake zote. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, hatutaki kuona madaktari wetu kwenye makaunti wakifanya mgomo ili wakaweze kupata pesa ambazo wanastahili kuwa nazo. Hata hali zao kule wanaishi ni hali duni kabisa. Ningeomba hata makaunti wakaweze kuangalia madaktari wanaishi manyumba ya aina gani, ili wakaweze kuwa na amani wakitoka pahali wanaishi, wakienda kazini, wawe ni watu wanafuraha na wana amani, wanaweza kuhudumia wagonjwa inavyostahili. Bwana Spika, ni asante, nina support hii motion ya Cherargei.
Senator Methu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to support this petition that has been brought to the floor of the House. And I would want to join my colleagues in agreeing to the fact that when you are not well remunerated, and especially a workforce of the nature of medical practitioners, people that have been entrusted in ensuring that they restore the lives of the people of Kenya. If, Mr. Speaker, the people have not been remunerated for such long times as has been elaborated in this petition, Mr. Speaker, and that, Mr. Speaker, they feel, and I am also of that same feeling, that they are not well remunerated. Mr. Speaker, they have cited, Mr. Speaker, that the Public Service Commission Human Resource Policy and Procedure Manual for the public service is very clear that the internship program, one, is very legal, and number two, it is run using the relevant provisions of the Constitution and the professional bodies and other policy guidelines. Mr. Speaker, it is not fair that people that we have given such a task, a noble task of ensuring that they substitute or help in the health sector are the ones that are leading in terms of complaint. I want to join the chairman of the health committee in saying that one of the biggest funded, or one of the biggest funding of government, is the Ministry of Health. And I would want to agree that this money should and must be sent to the county government so that they're able to take care of this particular sector of the county governments. Mr. Speaker, I do not understand, and I have never understood why, because the fourth schedule is very clear on the duties and functions that have been devolved. If health is a devolved function, why then is the Ministry of Health taking the lion's share of all the government, of all the budget of the national government, of the money that was the top-up from the 385, Mr. Speaker, that money remained with the Ministry of Health. We want that money to be sent to the counties so that, Mr. Speaker, we can bring to a close. Because even if we continue complaining, Mr. Speaker, and we are not sending enough money to the counties, Mr. Speaker, they will not be able to sustain this kind of program. So, Mr. Speaker, as I wind up, I want to really implore on my colleagues that
Senator Ledama.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for giving me this opportunity to make some brief comments on this thing. I rise to support the petition on the health workers by Senator Cherargei. Mr. Speaker, this is an opportunity, and I just want to follow with what Senator Matthew has said. I now want to beseech all the members in this House that we now have the opportunity to be able to ensure that our counties are getting money. We have DORA coming, and we know what the National Assembly is doing when it comes to the issue of DORA, division of revenue. We are the ones who divide money between the two arms of government. The issue of these universal healthcare workers, where most of them were being paid a stipend of about 15,000. And the biggest problem, Mr. Speaker, with this issue is that they were already given a number, which if I refer back to the petition, because it's an IPPD number. So wherever they go, it appears if they are employed by the ministry. So they cannot even be employed by anybody else. This is a matter which is alive in our Committee on Health. When I received the petition from these workers, I submitted it to our committee, and we've met those workers. And now we are looking to meet with SRC. We're also looking to meet with the ministry. I think we've already met with the ministry. And ideally, Mr. Speaker, even when we go to Mombasa to meet with the Commission of Revenue Allocation, some of these things are things we need to be able to engage in. We need to send more money to counties. There is no reason why the Ministry of Health should be having billions, money equivalent to 5 counties allocation. That money ought to go to counties, and then we clear this issue of IPPD numbers, remove it in the system, and then allow these individuals to be employed. So, Mr. Speaker, because I see the color is already yellow, I want to say that as a member of the Health Committee, this is a matter that I became very proactive on, and I brought it to my chairperson, who I really have a lot of respect for, because he has stood firm to ensure that at least we bring this thing to a finality. We have to.
Senator Karen Nyamu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The importance of the health sector and the health workers cannot be gainsaid. The other day, I was attending the opening of the first ICU facility in Nairobi by the county government of Nairobi. And one of the glaring issues that came up from the public is the quality of health care that we have in our hospitals. And the quality and the fact that the health workers are not motivated and they're not delivering, and as they claim, they are idling in hospitals, and their attitude is wrong. But, Mr. Speaker, on the flip side, when I took time with the health workers, they said that, they claim that, and which happens to be true, they claim that the terms of service are not met. They work under deplorable environment. Their wages are not as is supposed to be, and they're not motivated, and their working hours are long. So, Mr. Speaker, it is very important that we look into the welfare of the health workers.
Senator Karen. Senator Kajwang. Once you bow and walk in, you go straight to your seat. I can see you behaving like the guest of honor in some Harambe. greeting everybody, especially the lady senators. Proceed, Senator Nyam.
Mr. Speaker, the working environment of these health workers impact directly on the health services and on the common mwananchi. And so, Mr. Speaker, I want to support this motion by Cherargei so that our health workers' conditions are looked into. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable members, the 30 minutes meant for contribution to this petition is now spent, and therefore pursuant to Standing Order 238-1, the petition should be committed to the relevant standing committee for its consideration. In this case, I direct that the petition be committed to the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare. In terms of Standing Order 238-2, the committee is required in not more than 60 calendar days from the time of reading the prayer to respond to the petitioner by way of a report addressed to the petitioner and laid on the table of the Senate. Now, while the Standing Committee on Labor and Social Welfare gets down to prosecute this petition, if need be, let it co-opt the Health Committee so that we have an in-depth look at the matters raised in this petition. Now, Honorable Senators, there is a communication that I want to make. The first, there are actually two communications. The first is to welcome the petitioners. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of representatives from the unions, associations, and societies in the health sector. They are in the Senate as guests of the Senator of Nandi County, Senator Samson Cherargei. Honorable Senators, I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. Mr. Kipkorir Kirui, Public Health Officer. Mr. Samrum Derek, Clinical Officer. Mr. Bashir Ali, Clinical Officer. Ms. Lavender Kibitisu, Clinical Officer. Mr. Abdi Fatah Musa, Clinical Officer. Mr. Desmond Wafula, Community Health Officer. Mr. Lawrence Kariuki, a nurse. Mr. Innocent Situma, a nurse. Ms. Lillian Mumina, nutritionist. Honorable Senators, order, Honorable Senators. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome and wish you a fruitful visit. I will allow the Nandi County Senator to make very brief remarks, and that is after I've read the second communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of Class 8 pupils from Riara Group of Schools in Nairobi County. The delegation comprises 6 teachers and 83 pupils who are in the Senate for a one-day study visit. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. After the Nandi County Senator makes his brief welcoming remarks, he will be followed by the Senator for Nairobi County, Senator Sifuna. In that order, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. On your own behalf, I want to extend a warm welcome to colleagues from the associations and unions of health sector, Mr. Speaker, sir. And it is good that they came in when senators were expressing in solidarity. And I hope, Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, we shall find solution to the issue of UHC, issue of health sector, Mr. Speaker, and on the issue of internship and their payment, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I can see some of colleagues of mine and my guests have drawn the attention of some of my colleagues, Mr. Speaker, sir. Jesus Christ said you cannot get to the Father without him. I want to advise, Senator Sifuna and Senator Kajwang that you shall not see that kingdom without going through me, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, they can ensure I'm comfortable, Mr. Speaker, and then I can attend to their needs and ensure they access some of the numbers. Mr. Speaker, sir, finally, I'm also an almata of Riara University. I know it's part of Riara Group of Schools. I extend a warm welcome, and I hope we can interact later, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much. And Senator Sifuna, you can see me in camera, and Senator Kajwang. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for giving me this opportunity as well to speak. I do not understand why Senator Cherargei wants to take possession of the leadership of the unions that are here. But just to assure him that we, in fact, as a political movement, have had very close working relationships with the unions, from the KMPDU to the nurses, and we can only use such opportunities to deepen and widen those relationships that are already existing. I want to assure the health workers that at least revenue. It is the responsibility of all of us in this house to find money for you. And think that I will have to go through you to access those unions. Mr. Speaker, allow me also to take this opportunity to welcome students from the Riara Group of Schools. In fact, the most surprising bit of information is that Senator Cherargei is somehow also a product of Riara. There is quite a big difference. When you look at the faces in the gallery there, they speak to the group of schools. This is one of the most established education facilities, in fact, in the whole country. They have built a good brand for themselves. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, I want to notify this House that one of the students there, she's called Abigail Gidhira, is the daughter to one of our senior clerks here, the deputy clerk, Miss Eunice Gishangi, who was also my lecturer in the University of Nairobi. And I spoke to her yesterday. I know Abigail's parents are outside the country, but she asked me to extend a very warm welcome to Abigail and her classmates. I hope that you enjoy your tour here. And I want to, when you go back home, thank your parents for voting for me as a senator of Nairobi. Mr. Speaker, I wish them a successful tour of the Senate. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I do have another communication to make. Minority Leader and Senator Osotsi. Can you have a seat? There is no standing order that tells you to freeze when the chair is up. You sit, you go have a seat, the next available seat, even if it's not yours, but you take it until the chair is done, then you can resume yours. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon, a delegation from the Homabay County Assembly, comprising members of the Committee on Welfare and its Secretariat. The delegation is undertaking a 5-day benchmarking visit in the Senate. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that you may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. The Honorable Doreen Oyugi, Chairperson. The Honorable Kasera Silvans Wanjala, Vice Chairperson. The Honorable Odhiambo Billy Noah. the Honorable Otieno Evelyn, the Honorable Olo David Odhiambo, the Honorable Reuben Odhiambo, the Honorable Odok Paul Owade, the Honorable Lentana Adoto Apopo, the Honorable Nancy Anyango, Mr. Amos Nyandege, Ms. Damaris Ochele, Ms. Mercy Kaula, and lastly, Mr. Calvins Wambalo. Honorable Senators, in our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I will allow the Senator of Homabay to make very brief welcoming remarks.
Mr. Speaker, I join you in the House to welcome the delegation from Homabay County Assembly. And Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate the honorable members for choosing to come to the Senate for benchmarking. This is a committee that is charged with the welfare of members. And Mr. Speaker, one interesting thing that is going on around Parliament today is that at the National Assembly, at the facade of the National Assembly, they are putting up a sign. I think that should be the logo or the motto of the National Assembly. And they're saying, for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. It has been wrapped around the facade of the National Assembly. And I want to encourage my friends from Homabay County Assembly, all of them are people I know personally, Mr. Speaker, including my area MCA, the Honorable Ruben Molo, is also in that gallery. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage them that the Welfare Committee of the County Assembly of Homabay should not be seen as the end. The welfare of members is not the end. It is a means to an end. And that end is service to society, service to the people of Homabay. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage my friends from Homabay County Assembly that they should not be blinded by pursuit of members' welfare at the expense of the welfare of the fisherfolk, of the farmers, of the traders, and of the great people of Homabay. Mr. Speaker, at least now, Senator Cheriot will also have to go through me if he wants to interact with any of the MCAs from Homabay, particularly those of the other gender. So if you need connections, Senator Cherargei, you have to go through me. Mr. Speaker, I beg your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. I beg, because my sister, Senator Beatrice Ogola, has worked in Homabay County Executive as a member of the County Executive for 10 years. It will be remiss, Mr. Speaker, if my sister Beatrice does not get an opportunity to say one word. Therefore, out of my 2 minutes, I donate 1 minute to Honorable Beatrice Ogola, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kajwang, you are not an advocate of anybody, or any senator for that matter. However, I will allow you to get away with this today. Honorable Beatrice, kindly 2 minutes.
Honorable Speaker, I'm humbled for the opportunity that you've given me for the donation of the 1 minute by my able Senator, Senator Moses Kajwang. I joined the great House, the Senate, in welcoming the honorable members from the Homabay County Assembly. Honorable Speaker, Homabay County is a county of potentials. And by the composition of the members that have come, you can see the great potentials that we have. The delegation are also ranking members, and Honorable Speaker, I've worked in the county government for the last 10 years, one as a CEC of lands, once as a CEC of energy and water, and probably that speaks to the reference that Kajwang made of me yesterday, that I will have the opportunity to substantiate another day. Welcome, honorable members. Learning is a lifelong activity, and we hope we'll also have a chance to walk down to Homabay, to the assembly, and learn more. Welcome, honorable members.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 5, papers.
What is your point of order, Senator Mazayo?
Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay an end to motion on adjournment of the House to discuss a matter of urgent national importance. Mr. Speaker, I beg to give notice to the following motion, that pursuant to Standing Order number 37 of the Senate, do adjourn to discuss a matter of utmost urgency, national importance, namely the police brutality, arbitrary arrest, and excessive use of force by the police during the demonstration yesterday, Monday the 20th, 2023. I thank you.
Have your seat, senators. The notice of adjournment under Standing Order 37, having met the required number of senators supporting the same, I would wish now to direct that the House shall stand adjourned at 5:30 to discuss that motion. Thank you. Next order. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to lay the following papers on the table of Senate today, Wednesday, 22 March 2023. 1. The report of Auditor General, financial statement of Machakos County Executive Committee, and the Chief's car, loan, and mortgage schemes for the year ended 30th June 2022. 2. Report of Auditor General on financial statement of Makueni County Youth, Men, Women, Person with Disability, and Table Banking Group Empowerment Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. 3. Report of Auditor General on financial statement of Kitui County Assembly Service Board Employees Car and Mortgage Fund for the year ended 30th June 2022. Report of 4th, report of the Auditor General on the financial statement of Bomet County Assembly Car, Loan and Mortgage Scheme for the year ended 30th June 2020. Mr. Speaker, I laid the following paper.
Thank you. Next order, Clerk. What is your point of order, Senator Wambua?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Standing Order 190 establishes the Senate Business Committee. One of the most important responsibilities of that committee, Mr. Speaker, is to make decisions and give directions on the business of the House. The Speaker, I don't wish to question the work of the Senate Business Committee. They're doing a good job. The Speaker, my only concern is when it comes to giving priority to matters that will be discussed on the floor of the Senate. I have an interest on the matter listed standing in the order paper number 27. That matter, the Speaker, is a matter of serious national concern, and all the matters listed there are important, the Speaker. But the Speaker, I'm a bit concerned that our children in schools, all public schools, not just in Kitui, all public schools, are really suffering under the weight of the current drought. It's a motion that I brought almost a month ago, and the Speaker, I would say maybe at times I'm also to blame for this because there are days I've not been here, but I've been responsible enough as a Speaker. Every time that I'm not in the House, and this you can confirm, I've written to your office and said I will not be in and given the reasons. The Speaker, that matter of public school feeding program in schools at a time like this is a matter that I thought maybe the Senate Business Committee may want to prioritize that matter so that we discuss it and see what remedies we can give to our children in all public schools in this country. I know the children like Kithi are starving. I know the children in Kitui are starving. The children in Nandi have a problem. In Kirichi, the same thing. The Speaker, if you can just do this, we'll appreciate. I thank you, the Speaker.
Senator Wambua, indeed, what you're raising is very valid and very appropriate. However, sometimes I wonder why most senators actually stand on points of order where it's an issue that could have been addressed in a different manner. The matter you've raised, though important, I think it can be handled administratively as opposed to it being raised on the floor of the House. And as the chair, I've taken note of that, and it will be handled administratively to make sure that particular motion is given priority. Now, honorable senators, we have had, I think we're abusing this so-called point of order. If you look at our standing orders, it gives reference to when a senator can stand on a point of order. It's not every time that a senator can stand on a point of order. If you read standing order, I believe 98, it tells you when, as a senator, you can stand on a point of order. But you see, we have made that one so wide that any time a senator wishes to say something, they will stand on a point of order. Whereas our standing orders actually are very specific at what moment should a senator stand on a point of order. So let us stick to what is provided in our standing order to avoid these other numerous standing orders that may not strictly be deemed to be points of order. That does, of course, that does not mean that what Senator Wambua has raised is not important, but it can be raised not through a point of order. It can be raised administratively, and how I wish, Senator Wambua, you raise this either with the clerk or with me in my office. Maybe today we will discuss that exhaustively. Let's proceed on, clerk.
Order number 6, notice of motion.
Senator Oburu. Yes, you have a motion that you ought to give notice today, arbitrary arrest of Kenyan fishermen by Ugandan authorities. That is...
Mr. Speaker, was not given.
Were you given the order paper for the day?
He doesn't have the motion.
Kindly assist the Honorable Senator with the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I was not given this. I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I wish to give notice of the following motion. Mr. Speaker, this is on the arbitrary arrest of Kenyan fishermen by Ugandan authorities. Mr. Speaker, that aware that the communities around the lake rely on fishing as their main economic activity, their source of food and employment. Concerned that the fishermen have reported harassment from the Ugandan security personnel, including arbitrary arrests and imposition of unreasonable fines. Further concerned that in November 2021, the Kenya International Boundaries Office formed a joint committee with the Ugandan authorities that did not effectively delineate the boundaries that would have helped avoid conflict between the two countries. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves, A, that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Diaspora Affairs, in collaboration with the Ministry of East African Community, the ASALs and Regional Development, engages the counterpart ministries in the Republic of Uganda to, 1, fast track the delineation of the Kenyan-Uganda boundary, 2, develop measures to curb the arrests of Kenyan fishermen by Ugandan authorities, 3, institute a protocol for sustainable development of the Lake Victoria Basin on the sharing of resources between partner states, and B, the Ministry of Interior and National Administration to deploy the Kenya Coast Guard in the territorial waters of Lake Victoria to enforce maritime security and safety. Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to
Mr. Speaker, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 60 to give a notice of motion on review on the minimum wage necessity.
What is your point of order, Senator Mazaya? Kindly take.
She has no
kindly take your seat.
Bwana Spika, kwa heshima na taadhima, nataka kuuliza katika hoja yangu ya nidhamu. Je, ni haki kwa seneta, na kama pengine ninaongea Bwana Spika, ingekuwa vyema kama dada yangu akae chini,
Senator Nyamu,
kiongozi mwenzangu.
Senator is on a point of order. You resume your seat. Thank you. Proceed, Senator Mazai.
Anasema kwamba kulinganishana na kanuni zetu za kudumu, nataka kuuliza swali moja tu. Je, ni haki kwa seneta ambaye ni mheshimiwa, anaheshimiwa sana, ndio chama cha UDA kikamchagua ama kikamteua kwa sababu walimuona na kadria ile nafasi ile, kuja hapa mbele yako, mbele ya Senate la bunge, yani Senate likiwa ni bunge la Kenya, ikiwa mtu anaonekana wazi kabisa mbele ya ndugu zake wote walio hapa kama maseneta, je, ni heshima kuketi kusimama hapa mbele yetu na kuweza kuongea bila kuvaa viatu ama socks?
Senator Kenywa, may the senator be heard on silence. Can you conclude on your point of order, Senator Mazayo?
Je, ni haki kwa senator dada yetu yule Karen kuja kuongea hapa bila viatu? Hakuvaa viatu, yuko na miguu chuma. Kwa hiyo akiwa na miguu chuma, je, anaruhusiwa kuongea mbele ya wanaume, mbele ya maseneta wanaume na wanawake? Asante Bwana Speaker.
Honorable senators, order senators. You know, the business before us is very important and it's long. Let us stay focused to that business. Back to the point of order as raised by Senator Mazayo. The only way to confirm that indeed Senator Karen Nyamu is barefooted is to allow her to approach the chair. Senator Nyamu, kindly approach the chair. Senator Mazayo, I'm afraid that Senator Nyamu is well dressed and she's wearing her shoes. So I will allow her to proceed to give notice of her motion. Kindly.
Mr. Speaker, you know Senator Mazayo normally wears glasses, machoine, ni machoine. So sometimes he doesn't see very well. And Senator Joyce Korir has been looking for you since she saw your photograph. Baada ya Maandamano. So see Senator Joyce Korir at your free time.
Order. Can we have order and make progress? Senator Nyamu, stick and focus on giving notice.
I am guided, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 60 to give a notice of motion on review of the minimum wage necessitated by the high cost of living. That's aware that minimum wages in Kenya are specified as part of a national wage policy and guided by the regulations of Wages and Conditions of Employment Act, Chapter 229, aimed at reducing poverty as well as protecting and promoting the living standards of workers. Concerned that despite the increase in Kenya's minimum wage in May 2022 by 12% to help workers cope with the surge in consumer prices, the current inflation rates have had a knock-on effect on the cost of living and doing business in the country, with the prices of goods, household, energy bills, and transport remaining stubbornly high. Now, therefore, the Senate resolves that the Cabinet Secretary for Labor and Social Protection engages all stakeholders, including the General Wages Advisory Board, the Agricultural Wages Advisory Board, with a view to raising the minimum wage by at least 50% as from 1st May this year, 2023. Mr. Speaker, I beg to notice. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Senator Chirange. Pardon?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sir, I don't know, Mr. Speaker, sir, statement on destruction and loss of life caused by tropical cyclone Freddy in Malawi. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on the issue of general topical concern and national importance, namely the destruction and loss of lives caused by tropical cyclone Freddy in Malawi. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise today to address the devastating impact of Cyclone Freddy on our brothers and sisters in Southern Africa region. Cyclone Freddy is a catastrophic and long-lasting cyclone that is refusing to dissipate and has torn through the southern part of Africa. It has ravaged Malawi, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Madagascar, and Mauritius. So, Speaker, sir, Cyclone Freddy is the world's longest-lasting tropical storm. It has twice hit the African coast after crossing the Indian Ocean. Cyclone Freddy formed in the southern eastern India Ocean off the coast of northern Australia in early February. So, Speaker, sir, can I be heard in silence?
Senator Hamida and Senator Mazayo, kindly proceed to your respective seats. Proceed, Senator Chirange.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I don't know what minority leader is looking for Senator Joyce to do. Cyclone Freddy formed in the southern African Ocean off the coast of northern Australia in early February. Freddy then crossed the entire ocean, passing Mauritius and the French island of La Réunion, before landing in Madagascar on February 21 and sweeping over the island before arriving in Mozambique on February 24th. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is sad that it has claimed over 200 lives and affected nearly 600,000 people in southern Bad, and our condolences and sympathies and empathies to the bereaved. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like also to recognize the bravery and unwavering efforts of the first responders, emergency personnel, and volunteers who have been working around the clock to rescue and assist those affected by the cyclone in the region. They are owed an immense amount of gratitude for their selfless service and sacrifice. These responders are now required more than ever as the natural disasters are increasing in intensity, frequency, and impacting our world today. In this, we must also acknowledge the role of climate change, even as espoused by our beloved President, Dr. William Samoei Arap Ruto, is having on these extreme weather events like Cyclone Freddy. So, Speaker, sir, it is critical that we act to address the underlying causes of climate change and work towards a sustainable future for our planet. I'm happy that we are taking lead as a country, led of course by our President and the cabinets, as we already consider House nominees the other day, Mr. Speaker, for appointment of the National Climate Change Council. As we increase the action in our nation, we want to encourage the global community to work with government, parliament, and other stakeholders towards a better future and protecting our country and our world. Madam Speaker, I know the change. As a nation, we stand in solidarity with our brothers and sisters in Southern Africa, the countries of Malawi, Mozambique, Mauritius, among others, as we have an incredible opportunity and responsibility to offer our full support to help with the recovery and rebuilding process in those countries. Providing assistance to one another during natural disasters is not only a moral responsibility, but also a practical requirement for building a more resilient and interconnected global community in Africa and across the world. Madam Speaker, finally, let us continue to keep those affected as we send on behalf of the Senate our empathies and sympathies to the bereaved and those people who have lost their livelihood and lives in those southern part of the country affected by the Cyclone Freddy in our thoughts and prayers. And let us come together as a nation to support them in their time of need. Madam Speaker, I beg your indulgence if we can give to the lives that have been lost and destruction that has caused by Cyclone Freddy, maybe 1 minute silence in honor of the fallen victims, according to your indulgence, Mr. Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Chirolige. Due to time constraints, I will request that we hold back the comments so that we can also achieve the order of the day, some business, to conduct some business and also to reach some motions. So I will request the clerk to call the next order.
Order number 8, the County Boundaries Bill, Senate Bills number 3 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for county boundaries, to provide for mechanism for the resolution of county boundary disputes, to give effect to Article 188 of the Constitution by providing for the procedure for alteration of county boundaries, to provide for the establishment of an independent county boundaries commission, and for connected purposes.
So we can have the next order.
Order number 9, the Persons with Disabilities Bill, Senate Bills number 7 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to give effect to Article 54 of the Constitution, to restructure the National Council for Persons with Disabilities and to provide for its functions and powers, to provide for the institutional framework for protecting, promoting, and monitoring the rights of persons with disabilities, to provide for incentives and reliefs, and for connected purposes.
Next order, clerk.
Order number 10, the Heritage and Museums Bill, Senate Bills number 8 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to provide for the conservation, preservation, protection, research and management of cultural and natural heritage at national and county levels of government and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 11, the Kenyan Sign Language Bill, Senate Bills number 9 of 2023, first reading. A bill for an act of parliament to give effect to Article 7, subsection 3, subsection B of the Constitution on the promotion and development of the use of Kenyan Sign Language, to give effect to Article 54, 1D, to provide for the inclusion of sign language in the education curriculum, to provide for the use of sign language in legal proceedings, and for connected purposes.
Next order.
Order number 12, motion. Adoption of the 5th report of the Procedure and Rules Committee, PRC, on the review of the standing orders of the Senate.
What's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I beg to get your attention. Madam Speaker, kindly lend me your ear. I rise under Standing Order number 223, which is Report on Select Committee. Madam Speaker, Standing Order number 223 reads as follows. Report of Select Committee shall be prepared and kept in the same form as the votes and procedures of a committee of the whole in such other form as may be prescribed. Number 2 states as follows. The report of a select committee having been adopted by a majority of the senators shall be signed by the chairperson on behalf of the committee. And then number 3, if the chairperson or vice chairperson is absent or is not readily available, the select committee shall nominate another member of the committee to sign the report. Madam Speaker, I want to stop on 223.2. Madam Speaker, the order that you've just mentioned, the report of the select committee was tabled in this house yesterday. But if you look at page 3 of that report, That report was only adopted by 4 members, which is 1, 2, 3, and 4. The total number of members who sit in a select committee are 9. So, Madam Speaker, this report cannot be discussed in this House. It is not properly before the House. It is against our standing orders. And we cannot, you had reiterated clearly that anything which is presented in this House cannot be rushed. And Madam Speaker, there's a big problem that we are facing where we rush things. And you know, traditionally, any amendments to our standing orders will not even apply in this House. So, Madam Speaker, I really would beg you to pay attention to what I'm saying, because I have the report here, and I stood on a very important standing order, and I can see the majority.
Senator,
yes.
Senator,
yes,
I am
Speaker.
actually looking at that report as you're reading to
you,
internalize what you're arguing on the floor of the
Thank
House.
you, Madam Speaker. So, Madam Speaker, this report, I want to reiterate, that is not properly before this House. It hasn't been tabled properly, in conformity with our standing orders. And this is the danger, Madam Speaker, of rushing to amend standing orders to be able to accommodate certain interests. The practice and traditions of this House, Madam Speaker, has been that whenever this committee, Procedures and Rules Committee, sits down to amend standing orders, they do not apply to this session. In fact, they apply to the next parliament. So that, we don't change the rules of the game, midways. So, Madam Speaker, I'd like you to find that this report is not properly before this House, for it to go back. And I don't know what the standing orders say. Once you sneak in a report to the House, which has not been adopted, because this report has not been adopted, and will be violating our standing orders, discussing a report which has only been signed by 4 members. Number 1, it has been signed by the chairperson, who is the Speaker of this House. Number 2, it has been signed by Senator Wakili Hillary Kiprotich-Sigei, who is a member. Number 7, it was signed by Senator Sheikh Mohammed Abbas. And then number 8, it was signed by Senator Joseph Nyutu Nyugi, MP. This report was not adopted by 5 other members. If you do your basic mathematics, 9 minus 4 is 5. It is not 4. I beg to submit.
What's your point of order, Majority Leader?
Give me the mic, please. Thank you. Madam Speaker, I'm looking at the report that is before us. First of all, we've gone against very cardinal rules of procedure in this House, Madam Speaker. You have allowed Senator Ledama to cast aspersions on distinguished senators. When you allow him to rise on a point of order and say that this committee sneaked in a report, that, first of all, needs to be deleted from the Hansard and the records of this House. Because, Madam Speaker, the Senate Minority Whip was seated here yesterday in the afternoon. There is a procedure through which you table reports. The order was called. The chairperson of that committee, whether you are there or you are not, is none of our business. What we are concerned about, Madam Speaker, is the fact that you have allowed a senator to cast aspersions on colleagues, saying that we sneaked business, or those colleagues sneaked business into this House. That cannot be left, Madam Speaker, on the record of this House, Madam Speaker, because we know for a fact that this order was called up, a report was tabled, as is a normal procedure. Before we go on to the point of order that he has raised, Madam Speaker, I'd wish that for purposes of record, because this is a House of Records, Madam Speaker, that Senator Ledama withdraws the offensive part of his comments before we can move on to discuss the point of order that he has raised, Madam Speaker. We cannot allow a culture where if you do not agree with a particular report, you cast aspersions on your colleagues. that you say it was, secondly, he has said this report is serving selfish interest. That is very shameful, Madam Speaker, because I can see that a committee sat down, there are minutes of their sittings. You want to tell me, Madam Speaker, that are we setting a practice and a culture now that when committees of this House sits, and not just another committee, this is a committee chaired by the Speaker, deputized by his vice, that they can sit down to transact selfish business. I was taken aback, and I demand, Madam Speaker, that Senator Ledama withdraws and apologizes to the members of this committee, because he does not have to agree with it to make and cast aspersions on the members of his committee, Mr. Speaker, before we discuss whatever is raising. That cannot be left on record.
Before we proceed, I think it is official and it was recorded yesterday in the proceedings of this House that the report was presented before the House. Whether it is properly before this House or not, that will be subject to a certain verification which will be done by the Speaker. But in the meantime, I would invite Senator Ledama to withdraw the use of the word sneak and use different words. Let's have order in the House.
Madam Speaker.
Let's have order, Senator Ledama. I have given a direction, very simple direction. The report was formally tabled. I was in this House yesterday. The report was formally tabled. We would request the use of parliamentary language so that if business is properly brought before the House, you could use different words to describe the same thing that you're saying without using the sneaky language. So I invite you,
Madam Speaker,
Senator Ledama, I invite you to withdraw the use of the word sneak, then we proceed on. I can make a finding on the report.
Madam Speaker, thank you for giving a directive. But what I would like to state here is that I said, and I think the Hansard will bear me witness, that when a report is sneaked in, and Madam Speaker, you know, the majority leader, you know, is so emotional, and all I'm saying is that let us follow the procedures of this House. We have standing orders. He cannot come in here and I say that I'm against the report. I did not debate on the substantive matters on the report. All I did was open page 1, 2, and 3. And when I opened page 3, it is quite evident. It's on my right. I could see clearly that it has only been... So, Madam Speaker, I will not be forced to take in words that I did not emit. Madam Speaker, I would like to request that the Hansard be provided so that, if indeed I said that the committee tabled the report, I'll be more than happy to withdraw that sentence. But I said if a report is sneaked in, because we have a secretariat, Madam Speaker. I'm on a point of order. Madam Speaker, we have a secretariat. And if I raise an issue, it could be points of debate that I raised. So are you telling me that we'll now be gagged and will be forced to choose to use the right words that the majority leader will be comfortable with?
Senator Ledama.
So the standing order, Madam Speaker, I would request that because our standing orders provide that I substantiate. So can the Hansard be brought here so that it can be able to attest to what the majority leader is alleging?
Senator Ledama, I am presiding over the House. I have listened to you. I have heard your objection. Senator Ledama, I have given you a direction. Let's have order in the House. We intend to conduct some business today. Can you withdraw the use of the word sneaky? I have given a directive. Resume your seat, Senator Ledama. Resume. What is your point of order, Senator Mungatana?
Madam Speaker, the business of this House must be conducted in order. Standing Order number 99, Madam Speaker, forbids anticipation of debate. Madam Speaker, I have sat here waiting for the motion to be moved so that we are seized of the matter. Even before the majority leader has moved something, you know, we don't want filibustering, Madam Speaker. Let us be seized with the matter, and then if there are issues, let Mr. Ledama be heard, but not before. Madam Speaker, you cannot gag the majority leader. Let him be heard. Let him be heard.
I have given... I have not given you yet. Resume your seat. Resume your seat until I give you the permission to speak. I have given you directions, Senator Madzayo. I am certain you understand those directions. Resume your position. Senator Madzayo, there are other people who have pressed the same. They are lined up, other honorable members. Senator Ledama, back to you. Withdraw the use of the word sneaky. I want to give a verdict on the report.
Madam Speaker,
that you come after he
I have requested for the Hansard to be produced. Upon the Hansard being produced, I'll be more than happy to withdraw. Madam Speaker, I was begging you to listen to me, to pay attention to me, with all due respect. I was asking you, Madam Speaker, please pay attention to what I'm saying. I never said that the committee sneaked in. That is what the majority leader alleged. Madam Speaker, that is why when something is in dispute, Madam Speaker.
Ledama, does that amount to a withdrawal that you did not say?
It does not amount to withdrawal because I've requested you, and the standing orders provide that when you can request me to substantiate, the standing orders are very clear. Your chair guided this House, indicated clearly that we will be guided by these standing orders. Nothing else. These standing orders. And what I have requested, Madam Speaker, is that produce the Hansard. If indeed what the majority leader is alleging is true, then I'll stand corrected.
I will give an opportunity for that Hansard to be produced by tomorrow, and you'll be served with it. And if you fail to substantiate using the Hansard, you'll be ruled to be out of order, and sanctions will follow. Now, before we go to any other point of order, I want to make a finding. There are many requests for points of order. I want to make a finding on that report based on Standing Order 223. What is your point of order, Senator Madzayo? Senators, you must make it possible for the business of the House to be conducted. The style we are taking is not safe for the business of the House, and it's important you also respect the chair when you are given directions.
Yes.
Senator Madzayo.
With tremendous respect, Madam Speaker, the minority side has a right to also request for points of orders. But what we are witnessing now is not that way. They are not being accorded an opportunity to make points of orders. You have only allowed...
Mr. Madzayo, we were dealing with the standing order from Senator Ledama.
Yes.
A point of order from Senator Ledama.
There is the deputy minority leader, there is the deputy whip, there are other senators from this side who also would like to make their points known. But you are refusing, Madam Speaker, and I don't think this is proper.
Senator Madzayo, are you accusing the chair? I hope you are not. I have given opportunities to both sides of the House to address on on the point of order that was raised by Senator Ledama himself, and I have made a finding on it. So I request that you now resume your seat, because what you're stating is factually incorrect. Is your point of order? That will be the last point of order. Then I'll make a finding with respect to that report.
Madam Speaker, I thought we were out of this. Clearly we are not. The point of order raised by Senator Ledama Olekina and the contribution by my good friend, the Senator for Tana River, on whether or not it's proper to anticipate debate. Madam Speaker, those are two completely different things. What the point of order from the minority is, we are asking the chair to make a determination whether the report that is just about to be tabled or discussed or moved for debate is properly before this House. And Madam Speaker, you said we should be orderly. I'm trying to be orderly. Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, 223. Do you have a copy of it? Madam Speaker, he has demonstrated that 223(2) has been violated. That whereas the requirement is that 5 out of the 9 senators should approve a report before it is tabled, in this case, only 4 have approved that report. Madam Speaker, the question that the minority side is asking the chair to make a determination on is whether that report, before it is moved, whether it is properly before this House. Lastly, Madam Speaker, this discussion on procedure and rules, Madam Speaker, you may need to give us direction where you sit, whether if a member of this House does table a report unprocedurally, and then later on it is discovered that the report was not properly tabled, does this House have a duty of care to our own procedures to correct that mess, or we live with it? I think you don't speak.
Senator Wambua, if you had paid close attention to the direction I had given to the House just before I allowed you to rise on that point of order, we were finishing on the parliamentary language used, the use of the word sneaky, and I said I would make a finding on the report, but you seem agitated and therefore even not following through what the Speaker is giving as directions to the House. I've given a finding that that would be the last point of order, and then I would make a finding as expected by the House on the report. I have looked at the report, and the clerk can open that report again for me. Clerk, open that report again for me. And I have also looked at the Standing Order 223, subsection 2, the report of a select committee having been adopted by a majority of the senators shall be signed by the chairperson on behalf of the committee. I hope that is expressed. It's Standing Order 223, subsection 2, and that should settle the matter. The report is properly before this House. And the adoption report, the adoption of that report is in the minutes. If you need the minutes, on that issue, we will make progress. Senator Ledama, Senator Ledama, there are many senators in this House. I will give point of order to Senator Cheptumo. I have given the finding. You are going overboard, Senator Ledama. Don't do that. I have made a ruling. Point of order is by Senator Cheptumo. Let's have order in the House once again.
Madam Chair, I think I just want to plead with my colleagues here that you've been able to keep directions on the issue of the language used by the Senator Narok. And Madam Chair, the next question for you to determine which you have is if this report is properly before the House.
It has been dispensed.
And Madam Chair, you read the order, which is clear. Madam Chair,
allow Senator Cheptumo to finish his submission on the point of order.
So, Madam Speaker, I think there is an intention by the minority side, Madam Speaker, to derail the debate of this particular motion, Madam Speaker. And I'm saying so, Madam Speaker, because
Senator
Sifuna,
he's on a point of order, and I think
is so clear. And I want to plead with our members, Madam Speaker, that let us make progress. Let us make progress. Because, Madam Chair, Madam Speaker, we need to move and deal with this matter. And I think the standing orders are very clear. And Ladema and my colleague here, he is a senior member of this House, Madam Speaker. It is only fair that we allow. It is the majority of the members of the committee to sign the report, and it becomes procedural in the House. And I think, Madam Speaker, it's so clear.
I think on the report, honorable members, Senator Sifuna, what's your point of order?
Madam Speaker, my point of order is pursuant to that Standing Order 223, and what my learned senior Cheptumo has just said, Madam Speaker. I don't know why some of our colleagues are imputing some negative or, notions on the minority side, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker. We have demonstrated to this House that if indeed we did not want to take part in any business of the House, we know how to do that. But we are here, Madam Speaker, as the minority side, ready to contribute our thoughts to these particular matters that are on the order paper today. Madam Speaker, in my view, if the standing orders talk about a majority of members, it is a question of fact that is easy to establish from the document itself. If indeed you want to know whether majority of the members of a committee attended a certain meeting, it is such a straightforward thing, Madam Speaker, that we don't understand why we have to fight about it. Because every person knows the membership of this committee. It is not difficult to establish a majority. That majority should be apparent from the document itself. From the documents that we have seen, Madam Speaker, only 4 members of that committee have signed the document. How is 4 out of 9 a majority, Madam Speaker? So all we are saying, but I am on a point of order, Majority Leader. Please. Yeah, but I'm not finished.
Let him finish the point of order.
Madam Speaker, I can assure you on behalf of the minority side that nobody here is interested in playing any games. We are very, very interested in protecting the integrity of this House, including how business that comes to this floor is processed. We do not have a problem if the committee can go back and redo their report and sign with a majority, that we can all see that this is a majority. It's a question that is very easily ascertainable, Madam Speaker. What usually exasperates us as a minority side, and I don't mean to impute any negativity on the part of the chair, but Madam Chair, we don't understand, Madam Speaker, how it is so difficult. How can something we are looking at from this position be different from something that you as the chair are looking at from that position. We don't understand how it is possible, Madam Speaker.
Senator, wind up your start.
Yeah, so Madam Speaker, what we're saying is this. Please, we are all capable of establishing whether a document has been signed by the majority of the members. When we see such decisions, then we start questioning whether we have fairness in this House. Madam Speaker, from those documents, it is very clear that only 4 people out of the 9 members have signed. So it is not a report that should be brought before this House. And please, let us not force issues, Madam Speaker. Let us correct where mistakes have been made, and we move forward together as a House.
What is your point of order, Majority Leader?
Madam Speaker, I had requested you early that, and this is not the first time we are finding ourselves in such a situation, the minority of this House are beginning to set a very bad precedent, which unfortunately, Madam Speaker, they are getting aided by your office. Once the Speaker has made a determination on a matter, the practice of Parliament world over is that that matter is seized off and you move on to the next business. Point number 1. There is no way you can challenge the decision of the chair. It's common sense, Madam Speaker. Number 2, Madam Speaker, even if you wanted to allow them a second bite at the cherry, I want Senator Ledama, Minority Leader, Senator Wambua, to read the plain reading of the standing order they are quoting so that you understand the absurdity of the argument they are making. Madam Speaker, read standing order number 222. It speaks that the report of a select committee having been adopted, the debate they are having is adoption. That once the matter has been adopted, Madam Speaker, can I be heard?
You allow minority side, Senator Mazayo resume your seat, allow Majority Leader to complete his submission. No, point of order, point of order.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker.
Can you allow Majority Leader? I am directing from the chair. Allow him to finish.
Yes, Madam Speaker, a plain reading, standing order number 223, speaks to the signature of the chairperson or the vice chairperson or a member of a committee. Meaning, even if this report had been brought, Mr. Speaker, with only the signature of the chairperson alone, it will still have passed. That is a plain reading of standing order number 223 too. Madam Speaker.
Resume your seat. He's on his feet.
You know, Madam Speaker,
now,
what we shall not allow, Madam Speaker.
Don't push the chair any further, Senator Wambua.
Madam Speaker.
Can
Madam
you
Speaker,
allow?
We shall not be intimidated.
Majority Leader, just resume your seat, Majority Leader. Minority side, let's have order. Let's have order. I have given a judgment. I have given a ruling on that issue. I have given a ruling on that issue. You have, Senator Mazayo, this is the 3rd time I have asked you to resume your seat. I will now take action against you, Senator Mazayo. Resume your seat. Resume your seat, Senator Mazayo. Now, Senator Mazayo and the minority side and the majority side, I have rendered a ruling on this matter. We proceed on with the next order. Let's proceed on, Majority Leader, with the motion. I have given a direction. We are moving on with the motion. It will pend the order. It will pend the direction I have given, Senator Ledama. It will come after what I have given as the direction to proceed on with the House. Proceed, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I beg to move that pursuant to standing order number 267 and 270, the Senate approves the 5th report of the Procedure and Rules Committee on periodic amendments to the standing orders of the Senate, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 21st March 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 124(1) of the Constitution and Standing Order 270 and 272. 1. Resolve to amend its standing orders as contained in Appendix 2 of the report, and 2. Orders that the amendments to the standing orders as contained in Appendix 2 to the report come into effect on the 11th of April 2023. Madam Speaker, this motion is after very good work that has been done by our Procedures and Rules Committee, chaired by the Speaker, the Deputy Speaker. They sat down and considered various amendments that had been proposed to the standing orders, including amendments that had been proposed by some members of the minority side, Madam Speaker. The committee deliberated on the matters that had been brought before it, listened to the wisdom of those who had proposed the amendments, Madam Speaker, and proceeded to make a conclusion. I am hereby, Madam Speaker, requesting the House that we do agree with the proposal that is being made by the Procedures and Rules Committee to allow the amendments as have been proposed. This is a beautiful amendment, Madam Speaker, because I know for a fact our colleagues in the National Assembly considered similar amendments, and as we speak today, have made it possible that beginning of next week, Cabinet Secretaries will be allowed into the plenary of the National Assembly to respond to topical issues and matters affecting citizens directly, as opposed, Madam Speaker, to the only available platform where members sometimes have got to wait. You make a statement, request a committee, the committee goes and deliberates on the matter. Sometimes you as a senator that has made that request on behalf of your constituents is not even allowed to appear before that particular committee. This is an additional mechanism, Madam Speaker, for senators to avail themselves in this House every Wednesday at 10 to 12 and invite cabinet secretaries who have questions to answer before this House, Madam Speaker, to sit at the designated place where it will be determined as per the rules of the Speaker, and respond to questions and even subsidiary questions that are being raised by members of the Senate, Madam Speaker. I do not see how that, Madam Speaker, infringes on, Madam Speaker, the rights of members of this Senate who feel, for one reason or the other, that they do not want cabinet members to come to this House to respond. In fact, to the best of my knowledge, Madam Speaker, this is enhancing the practice of democracy. This is accountability at very high level, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd wish to challenge my colleagues on the minority side who have a problem with this to perhaps consult with their colleagues on the minority side from the National Assembly who chose to agree with this report, such that if today we do not agree with what our Procedure and Rules Committee will be telling us. Can you imagine a situation, Madam Speaker, where you will find...
Senator Sifuna, the point of order will come after he finishes moving the motion. Let him finish moving the motion.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Let him finish, you respond. I'll give you a chance.
I don't know,
I'll give you a chance.
Madam Speaker, why the minority side feels fidgety about this particular issue. How this House resolves matters, Madam Speaker, is how this House resolves matters is when you have a matter, you will have the opportunity to speak. They will choose otherwise. If they do not agree, I'm sure they will speak via their vote, Madam Speaker. Therefore, Madam Speaker, the second amendment, you remember that for 3 weeks, this House could not move because of squabbles and fights on the leadership in the minority side. We have now made, I will ignore the hecklers, Madam Speaker, and proceed with my speech. Because, Madam Speaker, for 3 good weeks, squabbles in the minority side.
Majority leader.
If you heckle,
continue, use the parliamentary language. Minority side, let's have order once again.
I will use parliamentary language on people who behave in a parliamentary way. If you heckle, I will refer to you as a heckler. That's what you are. That's what you are.
Honorable Senators.
Madam Speaker, this is a point. 3 weeks ago, we could not make progress in this house because of squabbles in the leadership of the minority side. We have, Madam Speaker, I will ignore that there is somebody heckling in the house and continue. Madam Speaker, for 3 good weeks, we couldn't make progress. Part of what the Procedures and Rules Committee has recommended is that now, once your good office is furnished, with a letter either from the majority leader, minority leader, majority whip, minority whip, on leadership on their side of any matter, within 3 days of sitting, you're supposed to make a communication. I do not understand why anybody will be opposed to such good proposals, because we are reacting to the live matters, because we have seen the culture that is being set in this house, Madam Speaker, where when you do not agree with the decision of a speaker, you try and paralyze the business of the house by making the kind of either allegations, noise, and trying to interrupt other speakers as they make their contributions. Therefore, Madam Speaker, this is a very good proposal. I support it and wish to request members of the Senate, for those who believe in accountability and diligent oversight, Madam Speaker, to support this report so that we can make progress together. Madam Speaker, I beg to move and request Senator Hilary Sigei of Bomet, a member of this committee, to second. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. As I rise to support this motion, I must first of all, Madam Speaker, speak to the issue that led to where we are today. In the history of this House, Madam Speaker, I am aware that in the 12th Parliament, the standing orders of this House were amended not once, not twice, but more than that, Madam Speaker. In December 2018, the standing orders were amended in order to change the structure of the committees of this House. And this House formally went through the procedure that we are currently doing to do the same. In July 2020, the amendment to the standing orders was also conducted, where virtual sittings was accommodated by the House in the course of the COVID-19 pandemic. Madam Speaker, in December 2021, similar amendments were done to the standing orders of this House. And Madam Speaker, speaking to the motion that has just been moved by the majority leader, it is informed by the need to have the House to progress in transacting its business. One of the reasons, Madam Speaker, that has been moved is to ensure that there is some level of accountability in the executive by ensuring that the cabinet secretaries have an opportunity to appear before the Senate to answer to questions where members of this House, and also from their representation responsibility, where they have picked from the members of the public, they ask questions so that the executive can answer not only to this House, but to the general public, because this is a House that has got roles and responsibilities to deliver to the public. And Madam Speaker, the proposed amendments to the standing orders are on that particular line. I do not see the reason why my colleagues from the minority are saying this is wrong. I moved the motion, I moved the notice yesterday on the floor of the House, and nobody objected to that notice. It was passed, and that is the basis upon which today the motion has been properly moved by the majority leader. Let me, Madam Speaker, allow me to speak to the issue on the numbers. If they were to spare a moment to look at the document that is placed before you, Annexure number 3 has got a list of the members of the Procedure and Rules Committee that sat and approved the report. And that number is not 4, as alleged, it is 5. I want to ask my colleagues to also spare some time and deal with the document that has been presented before them before they raise matters on procedure, matters on numbers, which are glaring. Madam Speaker, these particular amendments has given us very specific proposals. One is to do with the timelines within which communication from the chair is to be made. I am aware that the majority leader has alluded to that fact. 3 weeks ago, we had that challenge in the House. the proposals which the committee has made is to provide the Speaker with time and opportunity to look at the documentations, or rather communication, that has been placed before the desk, so that appropriate communication is made. This is with regards to the amendment to Standing Order number 23, where whether there are changes from the office of the majority leader from the majority party, or from the office of the minority leader from the minority party, the Speaker has an opportunity and also an occasion to look at the kind of communication that has been placed before him or her and make appropriate communication to the House where consideration appropriately has been done. In this particular case, Madam Speaker, if it is about considering the authenticity of any document, including a court order, the Speaker will have an opportunity to authenticate by looking at the documents which have been filed in court, asking the court about the same, and closing on that issue so that we communicate when we have authenticated the information. Madam Speaker, the second proposed amendment on the appearances of the CS has given this House the opportunity to set a specific date. In this case, we are proposing to set Wednesday to be a day where such questions are to be asked. The questions and their nature is also provided for. And I do not see the reason why somebody is opposing that thing, yet on the other space, they are asking for accountability on the part of those whom we have placed authority as the cabinet secretaries in terms of running the affairs of this country. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion and ask my colleagues to appreciate the need of asking the CSS or PSS or their nominees in this case to appear before the House in good time to answer to the questions. Madam Speaker, I second the motion and I ask that this House adopts as it has been presented. I thank you.
Honorable members, I now propose the question that pursuant to Standing Orders 267 and 270, the Senate approves the fifth report of the Procedures and Rules Committee on periodic amendments to the Standing Orders of the Senate laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 21st March 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Articles 124(1) of the Constitution and Standing Orders 270 and 272, 1, resolves to amend its standing orders as contained in Appendix 2 to the report, and 2, orders that the amendments to the standing orders as contained in Appendix 2 to the report come into effect on the 11th April 2023. What's your point of order?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand on point of order number, standing orders 102 on retraction and apologies. It reads that a senator who has used exceptional words or declines to explain or retract the words or to offer apologies for the use of words to the satisfaction of the Speaker shall be deemed to be disorderly. Madam Speaker, with all due respect, the majority leader referred to as honorable members to hecklers. Will I be in order for purpose of record that he withdraws that word heckler? Because I can imagine my son or my grandson reading the Hansard and seeing a majority leader referring to honorable members of the House as hecklers. How would he take it? So I would beg, Madam Speaker, you request the majority leader to retract that word heckler that was referred to as to honorable members.
Senator Mwaruma, this issue is a spent issue. You should have raised it at the point at which majority leader was using that word. You should have referred to it. So we will proceed on. We will not debate on that issue. We are proceeding on. We are proceeding on because there is a clear attempt to derail the business of the House. So the motion has been moved and seconded. We are now, what is your point of order? And not on that issue. I have ruled on it.
Madam Speaker, with the greatest respect, I stood up, I asked for a point of order when he made that comment, and your direction, if the Hansard will bear me witness, was that we wait for him to finish moving that particular motion, and then we raise the point of order. We have proceeded to do just that, and instead of you giving proper directions on him withdrawing that, you are telling us the matter is spent. We would like to be given specific directions from your chair on how exactly that matter is spent, because the Hansard will bear me witness. You are the one who directed us that we wait until he finishes his moving the motion, then we raise the point of order raised by Senator Mwaruma. So how is it spent, Madam Speaker, when you have not made a direction on him to withdraw him calling us names?
Senator Sifuna, while I listen to your point of order, I hesitate to imagine that you want me to revisit that, because I will just resume your seat, Senator. Because I will seek your description on what was happening a few minutes ago in this House. That's why I do not want to revisit it. I have given instruction. The way we are running, honorable senators, with profound respect to both sides of the House, I will request this House to avoid conducting its business in a manner that appears to actually be heckling. I will want you, when a senator is on their feet, to respect their time and their space, allow them to speak. If you disagree, you will find a chance to respond in the manner in which you disagree. But for now, we proceed on with the debate, and I will call those who intend to contribute to the motion to proceed on, and the House must learn going forward. We must do our business in a much better manner. We are creating a very poor precedent for the running of business in this House. Profound respect to both sides, but what we have done today doesn't look good at all. Senators, let's proceed on to debate and give Kenyans what they are looking for in discussing substantive motions. I am done with that issue. I will now call a contribution. What's your... Honorable senators, once again, I have closed that issue as the chair. We proceed to debate the motion. I will have Senator Cheptumo. Not on that issue.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, I rise to support the motion. And Madam Speaker, as I support the motion, Madam Speaker, in this very chamber, in the 10th Parliament, Madam Speaker, I was serving as the Member of Parliament, Baringo North. That was, Madam Speaker, before the 2010 Constitution. And in this very chamber, Madam Speaker, we had occasions to raise questions before ministers that time. Madam Speaker, what this motion is trying to do, and the amendments that has been proposed by the committee, is to allow these elected and nominated senators serving the interest of the people of Kenya to face the men and women, Madam Speaker, who have been given the chance by the government to deal with their matters so that they are able to ask questions on matters
affecting in their constituencies and their counties, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, therefore I stand here as a person who has been able to witness the situation as it is now and the situation as it is before the 12th Parliament, in the 11th Parliament. Madam Speaker, when we have a CS appearing before this House so that he is able or is able to answer questions, this House, Madam Speaker, will have a direct conversation with the people that the government has given a chance to serve them. Madam Speaker, I chair the Defense and Security Committee. Madam Speaker, we have a problem in this country today. Issues raised by these members cannot be adequately answered by statements answered by the ministers, Madam Speaker. Not even a moment to seek supplementary questions in those issues. In my committee, Madam Speaker, I have now about 4 statements which the members of this House are unable to understand even the answer. Madam Speaker, this is the moment, and I want to thank the President of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, because, Madam Speaker, he has confirmed to the nation that he wants a government that is accountable to the people of Kenya through the elected leaders. And Madam, this is the only moment that these members can indeed be able to raise issues directly with the government. Madam Speaker, I would want to say that it is indeed a moment, and I'm proud that, Madam Speaker, I will have a similar time like I had in the 10th Parliament to seek questions from ministers directly from here. Madam Speaker, I support because of time. This is the right direction to go, and I support.
Thank you, Senator. Honorable Senators, I want to humbly request that I have about 16 requests of senators who want to contribute to this motion. If we could confine ourselves to 3 minutes per person. How many minutes? What's the proposal? How many? 5. We have 3 minutes, 10 minutes. Okay, let's do 5 minutes. Let's do 5 minutes. So, Senator Olekina Ledama.
Madam Speaker, I rise to oppose this motion, and I oppose it purely on constitutional and legal standings. Madam Speaker, we all know that the Constitution is superior than any other piece of legislation. Madam Speaker, whether or not this motion gets the nod from this House, I want to go on record as having opposed this motion. Madam Speaker, I rise to oppose.
Allow him to finish.
No, not to finish. My mic was off.
Okay, proceed, Senator Ledama.
Madam Speaker, let me just request and beseech the chair that this House should only be guided by standing orders. Even limiting debate, it is expressly provided for in the standing orders that in the event that we want to limit the debate, we do so before any commencement of the debate. So, Madam Speaker, when we now, and the truth of the matter is it, standing number 1 only provide for matters that are not expressly provided for in the standing orders. So, Madam Speaker, I really want to beseech us that, let us respect our own rules. I am opposing this motion because of one thing. Number 1, standing orders are permanent rules and procedures of this House. We have looked at the Constitution, Madam Speaker. Constitution, Article number 153, Madam Speaker, is very clear on this matter. on the matter of inviting cabinet secretaries to come to Parliament. It is expressly provided for in this constitution. And I will read, Madam Speaker. It says, 153(3), a cabinet secretary shall attend before a committee of the National Assembly or the Senate when required by the committee and answer any questions concerning a matter for which the cabinet secretary is responsible. A cabinet secretary, number 4, it says, shall act in accordance with this constitution. I want to stop there, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, if this House want to amend the constitution using its own standing orders, we will be judged by history as people who have been greedy, self-seeking, and not interested in fighting for the future of this country. Madam Speaker, I want to beseech my colleagues that let us not violate the Constitution. If the framers of the Constitution saw it fit not to allow any stranger to sit on this floor, who are we then, Madam Speaker, to be able to change the Constitution through the back door? If we so wish to change the Constitution, why not go in and have, what do you call that thing? A referendum. Why should we not go and call for a referendum? Madam Speaker, I want to beseech your chair. It is not about time, and let me tell you, I know very well that the majority side is gung-ho on this matter. They want to bring in whatever they want to bring here. We move without any questioning it, any comma, any full stop. Let me be on record saying that if you push this matter without considering what the Constitution says, we shall defend this Constitution. Even if this Parliament is now acting as an extension of the executive, we shall go to the other arm of government and we shall challenge our own rules. This is going to be very unprecedented, and I request you, Madam Speaker, that, and I want to end by saying this, lest we forget that power is transcendent. We should never, when you are sitting there, think about the future generation. Think about the people who we come up with rules and regulation to be able to defend them. Whatever we are doing, may it be cantankerous, may it be for self-seeking, we should do so thinking about the future generation. I oppose.
Senator Madago, is it there? Senator Chiralike Samson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Yes, Senator Madago.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this motion on the amendment of standing orders. Mr. Speaker, as provided for by the Constitution, the President did indicate that he wants to work with Parliament. The former President used to see Parliament as enemies, as adversaries, as a nuisance and irritant. And that is why he used to arrest a number of us before proceeding some of this, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, when you look under Article 153, a cabinet shall attend before a committee. But when you look at, the people should read this Constitution. Mr. Speaker, the pickpockets in our towns, Madam Speaker, sorry, the pickpockets in our towns, Madam Speaker, if you want to know a pickpocket, you see how they read a newspaper. They read it upside down. Mr. Speaker, you need to read this Constitution properly. The Constitution says, provide Parliament with full and regular reports concerning matters under their control. It says provide Parliament. So these people, including my brother Senator Adama, are like people who read the Gazette newspaper upside down. The Constitution is very clear. Article 153, Article 154 is very clear, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, Madam Speaker, Senator Ledama should be called out of order. You don't need to shout. Can you key in? Madam Speaker.
Senator Ledama, the procedure for seeking point of order is well delineated under the rules.
I hope my time
is not
frozen.
pressed on your system. It's not showing here. Okay, proceed. I've seen it. It's now come.
Madam Speaker.
Let him raise the point of order. Resume. Take a minute.
Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Can we avoid, I do not want you to speak to one another. Speak through the chair, please. Contribute through the chair.
Madam Speaker, is the distinguished senator from Nandi in order to state that a distinguished senator who represents the people of Narok reads the newspaper upside down? I have just read the Constitution, Madam Speaker. I have just read the Constitution, Madam Speaker. And we might be overzealous about our points that we want to be able to put across. I want to beseech you, Madam Speaker, to find him completely out of order for his cantankerous behavior in actually insulting me. Madam Speaker, you cannot. I have a lot of respect for Senator Cherargei. And Senator Cherargei, Madam Speaker, the Hansard will bear me witness. The Hansard will bear me witness. And I'm happy to produce that Hansard if asked to. That he stood here once and opposed that provision of attempting to bring in Cabinet Secretary here, quoting the same article in the Constitution. So, Madam Speaker, I would like you to please, to rule.
Honorable Senators.
Is it Aaron Cheriot or is it Senator?
Retain your full honorable senators. Let him finish in half a minute now.
Let me tell you. Now you are cantankerous.
Senator Ledama, finish.
I don't deal with you. I don't deal with people.
Finish your point of order.
Madam Speaker, I want to finish my point of order by saying this. Whatever, and Madam Speaker, what is his point of order? Madam Speaker, you know, Madam Speaker, the majority leader.
Honorable members, allow Senator Ledama to finish his point of order. Allow Senator Ledama to finish his point of order.
Madam Speaker, it is really, really disturbing to see the majority leader completely acting like a heckler. It is really wrong. You are the majority leader. This house belongs to you. You should be leading with example. We have guests in this house who are listening, who are watching, and they are learning, and they are seeing the kind of behavior and the way you are behaving.
Senator Ledama,
if you allow me to finish, and if you protect me.
Senator Ledama, resume your seat now, Senator Ledama.
How do I resume my seat without me prosecuting my point of order, Madam Speaker?
I gave you a chance. You should use it properly. Senator Cherargei,
I hope my time
can you confirm
frozen.
what you meant by newspaper being read upside down? Can you clarify?
Madam Speaker, I hope my time has been frozen. You know, for us who did literature.
Senator Ledama, you are not the speaker for today. Can you resume? You are not the one giving the verdict in the House.
I hope, Madam Speaker,
Senator Cherargei, can you verify and confirm what you meant by newspaper being read upside down?
Madam Speaker, for us who went to the great schools of sons and of African gentlemen, the great school of Kapsabet boys, where it has produced two presidents, Daniel Moi and William Ruto. There is what we call in literature the use of euphemism, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cherargei, for the benefit of the members who cannot understand that heavy language, can you repeat yourself?
Madam Speaker, let me say in literature is what we call symbolic language. I just say it reading newspapers like. I use it figuratively. I didn't mean Senator Ledama reads the newspaper upside down. Can I proceed to prosecute my
Proceed. The explanation is acceptable. Proceed.
Yes. Madam Speaker, and therefore, Madam Speaker,
it is
under Article 153 and Article 154, Madam Speaker, you know the minority side have a habit of walking out, so there is no problem. And I sympathize and empathize with minority side. If the leadership of the whips are people who are heckling, it is very unfortunate. Madam Speaker, the standing order number 34, Madam Speaker, it talks about 9:30 to 1 p.m. Madam Speaker. It is very unfortunate that a number of my colleagues who are chairs, Madam Speaker, when you pose a question, they have to go literally looking for a cabinet secretary. This is an opportunity to put the cabinet secretary on the dock and ask him about Nairobi Expressway. Let's have CS for transport to come here. Ask him about drought. The CS of East Africa, East Africa community, Madam Speaker. Let us have cabinet secretaries appearing before us so that we can help them by, not by the balls, Madam Speaker, but Madam Speaker, so that we can help the cabinet secretaries by accountability. This house, Madam Speaker, is a house of representation, is a house of oversight, Madam Speaker, and therefore I don't know why other senators, especially on the minority side, have been going to public and demanding questions in demonstrations. We want to make it a structured engagement where we are having proper engagement with the cabinet secretaries, Madam Speaker. Therefore, standing order number 34 should be amended within 5 minutes. We should not even be wasting time. The President has given us a green light. We are not leaving. Madam Speaker, can you chase out Madam Speaker?
Honorable Senators, I will give each of you a chance to respond to whatever contribution Senator Chirali is giving.
Madam Speaker,
so can you be patient for him to finish?
Madam Speaker,
wind up, Senator.
Azimio One Kenya lands have said Monday and Thursday they are demonstrating. Let them go and demonstrate there, not inside the house, Madam Speaker. Standing order number 34. Madam Speaker, you know I'm not the OCS that you chased him. Me, I'm beyond the OCS. You cannot chase me. Madam Speaker, standing order number 34. Madam Speaker, he ran away. Madam Speaker, can you protect me? In fact,
Honorable Senators,
how can somebody dare me who he left a T-shirt with the police? Me, I've never run away from the police. I have slept in a police cell for 6 days on the floor. So, Madam Speaker, can I finish, Madam Speaker? Because these are serious issues. The Mamboga and Wajiku want to see CSS coming here. Madam Speaker, because of destruction of that, my time can be 1 minute
resume
only.
Your seat.
Madam Speaker.
Resume your seat now. Senator Osotsi. And honorable senators, when you get an opportunity, use your 5 minutes in a wise manner.
Madam Speaker, from the onset, I oppose this motion. And I want to oppose this motion on constitutionality. Madam Speaker, I require your protection.
Honorable senators on the majority side, can you allow Senator Ototsi to contribute?
Yeah.
Please.
Madam Speaker, earlier on, there was an issue that was raised through a point of order on the adoption of the report. And you said you are going to retire and give a ruling on the same. Madam Speaker, one of the members who signed the report is the Speaker of the Senate. When you retire to make your ruling, we would like you to also make a ruling on whether the Speaker has a vote in the committee. Because, Madam Speaker, I take you to Article 122 of the Constitution of Kenya, particularly on 122.4, that says, in recording the numbers of a House of Parliament for any purposes of voting in that House, the Speaker of that House shall not be counted as a member. Madam Speaker, the Speaker has adopted the report, meaning he has voted for the report. So we only have 3 members who adopted the report. When you talk about majority of the members passing a report, Madam Speaker,
do you wish to be informed? That's a point of information.
I don't want to be informed.
Honorable Ototsi,
I don't want to be informed.
You are being informed.
I do not want to be informed. I do not want to.
Is it a point of order or point of information? Resume your seat.
Madam Speaker.
Resume your seat.
Madam Speaker, I need your protection.
Can the senators who are standing resume their seats?
Madam Speaker,
except Senator Osotsi. Senator Osotsi, Senator Cheralige.
Madam Speaker.
Be careful now. Resume your seat.
Madam Speaker, Article 122(4) is very clear on the voting rights of a speaker, even in committees. So when you retire to make a decision, Madam Speaker, you have to consider Article 122. Madam Speaker, the matter that is contained in the report is very substantive. It alters the affairs of this House in a big way. And our own standing orders, number 271, is very clear on a matter that is very substantive and affecting the 2 houses, how it is being handled. And I will read. Whenever the Speaker of a House of Parliament is of the opinion that the amendment to the standing orders of one House is likely to substantially alter the orderly conduct of the business or affairs between the Houses of Parliament, the Speaker shall, jointly with the Speaker of the other House, cause the respective committee dealing with the matters related to the standing order to jointly consider the amendment and propose a version of amendment that is agreeable to both houses and report to the House. Madam Speaker, looking at this report was not done by a joint committee of Parliament, but was done singly by the Senate. Madam Speaker, we have a violation of Article 98 of the Constitution, because the amendments contained in this report is fundamentally going to alter the composition of Senate.
Senator Osotsi.
And this is like amending.
Senator Osotsi.
Yes.
Your time is up. Resume your seat. Senator Osotsi, did you notice that the Speaker asked Senator Cheralige to resume his seat when his time was up? Resume your seat. And for clarification, Senator Osotsi, for clarification, I rendered a decision on the admissibility of the report, and the report was admitted, and we proceeded with the motion which is being debated now. So you should all senators should confine their contribution to the motion that is before the House. Senator Oroba.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ask that you protect me so that I can deliver my contribution. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion. And not because of anything, but because we are really an oversight house. This is the upper house. What we do here is we play oversight. And if you go and look at the mandate of the Senate, really, the oversight that we are playing is to ensure that the executive delivers on its duties. Why would any sane senator at this, in the floor of the House actually oppose this motion? Madam Speaker, I want to say something. I presented about 3 statements 4 months ago. They were sent to different committees. In those committees, as they try to deal with those statements, part of it is summoning cabinet secretaries. It is becoming very difficult for cabinet secretaries to appear in different committees because today they are being summoned by one committee, the next day they have to go to another committee. So, Madam Speaker, even for purposes of logistics, when we have plenary session on Wednesday and we have, for instance, a cabinet secretary of a different department coming to answer to all matters, Madam Speaker, I don't see why our senators from opposition will just oppose anything for the sake of playing opposition. This is actually a motion that is going to help us, to aid us in terms of playing oversight. So I do not see the issue. Madam Speaker, let me speak on 2 things in my 3, I think now I'm on 4 minutes. We had the issue of the sex for work in Kericho. As a committee, we were sent to Kericho to go and carry out investigations, talk to stakeholders. The processes that we have currently, by the time we are actually now going to summon the cabinet secretary, they are tedious. So I see this as an opportunity to actually be able to deliver many matters in terms of oversight. By now, I would have actually summoned the minister, the cabinet secretary of labor. We asked them what they have done in terms of that issue of Kericho.
Senator Chimera, do you have a point of order? What's your point of order? Resume your seat, Senator Glory.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise under Standing Order 109. Madam Speaker, allow me to read the standing order within which I rise on. It says verbatim, after the question on a motion, the mover of which the right of reply has been proposed, a senator rising in his or her own place may claim to move that the mover be now called upon to reply, and unless the speaker is of the opinion that such motion is an abuse of the proceedings of the... Madam Speaker, I'm on a point of order. Please protect me. I'm on a point of order, Madam Speaker. Please protect me, Madam Speaker. I'm on a point of order.
Yes.
I'm on a point of order.
I will render a judgment on it.
Please.
The speaker is in charge. Let me hear the point of order. I will respond to it. Resume your seat, Senator Kajwang. Resume your seat, Senator Kajwang.
I'm on a point of order, Senator Sifuna. I'm on a point of order.
Senator Kajwang, resume your seat.
Madam Speaker,
finish.
Madam Speaker, having read the said standing order number 109, Madam Speaker, I humbly wish to move that the mover of this motion be called to reply, Madam Speaker.
Senator Chimera, resume your seat. I want to make
a
decision. This is a motion which of serious national importance, and we shall allow the same to be debated. We have a number of senators showing interest in the motion, so Order. Resume your seat, Senator Chimera. Resume your seat. Resume your seat, Senator Chimera. Senator Cherarike, resume your seat. Resume your seat. Senator. To order, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, Madam Speaker, Honorable Senator Chimera is quite in order. You know, any decision is made by this House. If Senator Chimera has put that standing order, what we should do...
Can we stop the shouting?
Madam Speaker, is just to get a seconder. It's just to get a seconder and you put the matter to vote.
whether we agree for the member to reply. That is the procedure, Madam Speaker. With a lot of humility. I have been in Parliament for 11 years, and that is the procedure all the time. Yes. But agree with me, Senator Kajwang, that Senator Chimera is quite in order.
Resume your seat, Senator. Senator, resume your seat. Just resume your seat. Resume your seat. Resume your seat. I am going to give a direction on how we proceed. Resume your seat. And I know that I have given direction. So can you resume your seat? Senators, let's have order now. This is a house of rules and procedures. I have given a direction on this debate. We will resume this debate tomorrow. Right now, can you resume? Resume your seat. Resume your seat. Senator Chaladige, resume your seat. Resume your seat. Resume your seat.
Madam Speaker, point of order.
Resume your seat. Senator Chaladige, resume your seat, please. Senator Mazayo, Senator Kamau, resume your seat, senators. Honorable senators. Honorable senators. Honorable senators, earlier on the Speaker had directed that the Senate Minority Leader moves a motion under Standing Order 37 at 5:30. I have been informed that it's now 5:32. We will resume and finalize this other debate tomorrow. So we will call upon the Minority Leader to move the motion. Yes, you have, Senator Oruoba, you have 4 minutes tomorrow.
Please.
Minority side, I now call you to order. No, I call you to order now. Honorable senators, today something is evidently not correct. The way we are conducting our business, that decision actually does not favor a certain side. It's a neutral decision of the Speaker. I have called upon the minority, and I now bar any further comment on the earlier debate in this House. We proceed on with what I have placed before the House.
Speaker, jambo la kwanza nataka nikushukuru kwa kunipa nafasi hii. Tafadhali ndugu yangu, kama niko hapa naongea, tuheshimiane kidogo.
Senator Sifuna, stop making noise in the house.
Wait, Riot, please, bwana. Please, bwana, please. Speaker, asante sana. Damu ya mimi nimekuwa hapa tokea mwaka wa 2013 na damu ya maseneta walioko hapa wengi wao ni vijana. Kwa hiyo mimi naelewa wakiwa na harakati hizi za kushindana. Kina Chimera, ndugu yangu mshupavu wa Nandi, na ndugu yangu wa kutoka Kericho, na ndugu yangu yule pale, wote hawa ni washupavu na damu yao iko moto. Speaker, hao ni wakati mwingine. Speaker, cha kwanza naomba uniruhusu niweze kuweka mjadala huu ya kwanza katika bunge la Seneti.
Senator Mazayo, Senator Mazayo, let me hear the point of order by Senator Chute. He's not moving. I have not given him a right to move a motion before this house. Madam, he's on a point of order.
Asante.
Settle down.
Asante sana Madam Speaker. Ningependa kuomba Madam Speaker, hii nyumba imerudi kama nyumba ya watoto wadogo wanapiga kelele. Na Madam Speaker, pande zote mbili ni kama hawakuheshimu. Kama Cherargei pande hii na huko senator ya Nairobi, tafadhali sana. Tupa hii watu, unaona hata sasa anaongea, tupa hii watu nje wajue wewe hiyo kitu unakalia vizuri. Kama utafanya hivyo, hawa watu watakusumbua mpaka kesho.
Thank you, Senator Chute.
Asante sana. Tupa.
Honorable Senators, you have had the invitation to the chair. Restrain yourselves, otherwise I might be very tempted to go that direction.
Sijui kama hiyo leo mruhusu Chute aseme ni hoja ya nidhamu, lakini Speaker, wacha niendelee. Lakini ni maono mazuri kwa sababu vijana kama ndugu yangu Cherio tawezi kupata. Speaker, ungeniruhusu kuweza kuweka huu mjadala mbele ya hapa bunge la Senate hivi sasa, ili tuweze kuahirisha kikao hichi na tuweze kujadiliana mjadala huu ambao unahusikana na ni wa kitaifa, na hususan unahusikana na ukatili wa polisi kwa kufungia waheshimiwa, kufungia wananchi katika vituo vya polisi kote nchini pamoja na viongozi wao. Speaker, ngoja nakuja. Usifanye haraka. Mos. Speaker, chama hichi cha muungano wa Azimio la Umoja uliweza kupeana taarifa kwa mkuu wa polisi wa kituo cha Nairobi ikiarifu kuhusu maandamano ya amani yaliokuwa yafanyike katika wilaya ya jiji la Nairobi tarehe 20 ambayo yalifanyika tarehe 20 mwezi wa 3 mwaka huu. Walitumia haki yao ya kikatiba, kipengele cha katiba cha 37, kuandamana kwa amani bila kubeba silaha zozote. Speaker, siku ya maandamano ilikuwa siku ya amani sana. Na nikiwa ninakumbuka mimi mwenyewe, nikiwa mmoja wa wale watu, tuliweza kutoka hapa kama waheshimiwa na tukaenda kwa njia ya kwamba tunaenda tukisema ya kwamba ni haki yetu kulingana na kipengele cha 37 ya kwamba tunaweza kuandamana. Speaker, jambo la kushangaza, na mimi naomba isije ikatokea upande wowote, kwa sababu leo umeamka, usiku wa leo uko upande huu, kesho utaamka uko upande huu. Hiyo ndio hali ya maisha, na hiyo ndio hali ya vile watu wanaishi. Kwa hiyo Speaker, mimi cha kushangaza ni kwamba sisi pia tulikuwa tunaweza kudai haki zetu. Speaker, cha kustaajabisha ni kwamba askari waliweza kupiga tear gas bila ilani yoyote ama bila kukasirishwa. Tafadhali ndugu yangu Cherargei, jambo hili ninalosema mimi linahusikana na kitu cha kitaifa kilichotendeka kwa upande wa upinzani. Kama hakina maana, tafadhali mwache Speaker anisikize, na wananchi wote katika Kenya saizi wanasikiza. Kwa heshima. Kwa heshima. Kwa heshima tafadhali. Speaker, tuko na kijana aliyeuawa Kisumu. Tuko na kijana ambaye alikuwa anasoma akiwa chuo kikuu cha Maseno. Wao wawili waliweza kupigwa risasi na kufa. Si kupigwa risasi ama kuwa wagonjwa ama kupigwa risasi kuumia tu. Waliweza kupigwa risasi na polisi. Na kawaida katika kitengo hichi cha 37 cha katiba. Sasa hivi nimesema ya kwamba Cherargei ondoke. Speaker, kumekuja mwingine tena anakuongelesha na hunisikizi. Speaker, mimi nasema ya kwamba kitendo hicho cha kupiga risasi ni kinyume cha sheria. Askari hawaruhusiwi kupiga watu risasi. Askari hawaruhusiwi hata hiyo tear gas unarusha wakati kuna fujo. Lakini haya yalikuwa maandamano ambayo yalikuwa yanafanywa katika nchi nzima kulinganishana na ile barua pepe tuliopeleka kwa mkuu hapa Nairobi ili watu waweze kufanya maandamano ya amani. Lakini kitu cha kwanza ni kwamba polisi wenyewe walikuwa wa kwanza kutupa tear gas. Na mimi nikiweko hapo, na tukawafuata na tukawaambia, hata wakaomba msamaha kwamba okay, alimwambia yule polisi usiweze kutupa tear gas kwa watu ambao hawana silaha wala hawapigi kelele wala hawafanyi fujo. Na tukaingia. Speaker, cha ajabu ni kwamba Speaker, nataka kusema kwamba tuliweza kuingia pale KICC ambapo kuna ofisi za maseneta ambazo sisi tuliweza kusimama pale na kuongea kidogo na watu waliokuwa pale. Hakukuwa na fujo hata kidogo. Wananchi hao, kitu cha kushangaza ni kwamba ikiwa mimi ni mmoja wao ndani ya KICC, kitu cha ajabu ni kwamba wabunge hawatembei wakiwa wamebeba bunduki. Na kitu cha ajabu ni kwamba mimi mwenyewe nikiwa mmoja wa wale watu na nilikuwa sina silaha wala sijui kutumia hata hiyo silaha wala sina haja nayo, tulipigwa tear gas. Watu niheshimu kama nimekuheshimu. I have a way of insulting you also. The Speaker, this is a serious matter and it involves people who have lost. The families right now are crying. Yeah? Saizi familia saizi popote zilipo pale kutoka Kisumu na Maseno, watu wanalia, familia zimepoteza wapendwa wao. Kama hawa wako na wapendwa wao sawa sawa, lakini wale waliouawa ni upande huu mwingine ambao walikuwa hawako katika hizo harakati. Speaker, cha mwisho nataka kusema hivi. Speaker, ilikuwa ni makosa makubwa sana kwa askari kuchukua hatama ya kuongoza ilo jeshi lao na kuanza kutupa kwa wananchi ambao walikuwa wanaenda hivi. Kitu cha kwanza, walimtumia baba Raila Amolo Odinga, walipiga risasi gari yake. Speaker, waliweza kupiga risasi gari ya Kalonzo Musyoka. Speaker, waliweza pia kutupa tear gas, na tuliziona, si siri, zilionekana katika Kenya mzima. Speaker, kitu tunasema ni kwamba mimi mwenyewe pia pamoja na mimi nikiwa kiongozi wa wachache ndani ya bunge la Senate, inafaa ipewe heshima. Metho, kesho utakuwa kiongozi pande hii na kuombea Mungu. Itakuwa ni aibu uweza kuchukuliwa wewe na polisi na kushikwa na kurushwa ndani namna ile. Speaker, vile vile pia tunaona ya kwamba ni makosa makubwa sana kuweza kuamrisha kiongozi wa chama cha Azimio kuweza kupigwa risasi gari yake. Hiyo ilikuwa inamaanisha nini? Kwa hiyo askari, Speaker, ni lazima wazingatie mambo ya sheria. Mimi nataka kusema la mwisho ni kwamba, Speaker, cha muhimu kiongozi walio wachache ndani ya bunge la kitaifa na kiongozi walio wachache ndani ya bunge la Senate, pamoja na mheshimiwa mbunge wa Kilifi South Ken Chonga, na pamoja na mbunge wangu wa Malindi, mama wa Kiislamu, wakati huu ambapo watu wanazingatia alhaya, kwenda kufanya mambo yao, kwenda kuomba Mungu na kuweza kuheshimu dini ya Kiislamu, alikuwa amevaa buibui, amevaa hijab, na kuweza kushikwa kwa bila heshima, kuweza kuvuliwa hijab na kuweza kuvuliwa buibui. Wewe unajua hijab, manake wewe ni wakili mkubwa ndani ya Mombasa. Hiyo ni heshima ya kwamba huwezi kuona msichana ama mwanamke wa Kiislamu akiwa na bila mtandio ama bila hijabu ya kufunga nywele zake. Wakati huu ni wakati mgumu sana kwa Waislamu. Ni wakati ambao wamejiweka mbele ya Mwenyezi Mungu. Na madharau yaliyoonyeshwa huyo, mimi nikiwa seneta wake hapa ndani ya Kilifi County, mimi ni kama seneta wa Kilifi County, itakuwa ni jambo la madharau kwa mheshimiwa Amina Munyazi kuonyeshwa madharau ambayo hajaonekana ndani ya hii nchi kwa mwanamke wa Kiislamu. Speaker, si jambo la kuchezea namna hiyo. Hata kama wewe ni askari na hauheshimu dini ya Kiislamu, sisi tunakuambia kitu kimoja: wewe askari uliyemvua nguo, na wewe ulikuwa mama, heshimu dini ya Kiislamu. Speaker, kumalizia mwisho kabisa, mimi nasema heshima si utumwa. Leo tuko pande hii, sisi kesho tunaweza kuwa pande ile. Na heshima kwa kiongozi wa upinzani, kiongozi anayeongoza upande wa upinzani, Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, pamoja na Martha Karua, pamoja na Kalonzo Musyoka, pamoja na Jean Wamalwa, pamoja na wakani Jeremiah Kioni, lazima na Wajakoya pamoja, ni lazima wapewe heshima ndani ya hii nchi, na ni lazima wapewe heshima. Unaweza kunipatia dakika moja nimalize, Speaker? Mimi ni kiongozi.
Finish.
Mimi ni kiongozi.
Finish. One minute.
Asante, Speaker. Speaker, nikimalizia, hao ni viongozi wetu ndani ya chama chetu. Kwa hiyo tunahitaji heshima, na kwamba kuanzia Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, kitu chochote kikitendeka, tutajua hao ni polisi ama ni wale wengine ambao wameweza kujipanga na kuweza kufanya watakufanya vile wanavyotaka kufanya. Nataka kutoa tahadhari ya kwamba jambo lolote lisitendeke juu ya Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. Asante sana. Nataka nimuite ndugu yangu Sifuna aje aweze support. Asante. Ku second.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we on the minority side have come to accept that in this House we are going to have to contend for the next 4 years with the prevalence of acute short man syndrome on the majority side, because there are two senators who are
Senator
now becoming...
Sifuna, do you come to second the motion?
Yes, I stand to second the motion,
and you
but I must begin...
content of the second.
Yes, allow me to lay a background.
Don't describe characters.
No, I have not described anyone.
Physical characters.
Madam Chair, what I want to request you, please don't engage in our brawls. Please, just sit and be a neutral referee. I have not named anyone. I have just said that we have come to accept that in this House we will have to be content with very serious acute short man syndrome by some people on the majority side. This is why every time we stand here, we are hardly ever given an opportunity to express our opinions in the manner in which we are supposed to. We have raised this objection and we shall not tire to put it on the record that in fact our interest here is to debate things soberly. But if the environment does not allow for us to debate soberly, we will act the way these short men want us to act. We will be short like them. Madam Speaker, you are not a short man. Why are you heckling? Stop heckling. Madam Speaker,
point of order, Senator Madago. Resume your seat, Senator.
Pause my time. I'm not done.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, you have given guidance to this House on the debate. Is it in order for the Senator for Nairobi to keep referring that there is shortman syndrome in the majority side? Madam Speaker, it is not in order. He should utilize the time to debate. And Madam Speaker, we are very patient, but we don't take kindly when honorable senators seem to be threatening the chair all the time. Madam Speaker, can this House debate? Senator Sifuna, you have been given time to prosecute. I am addressing the chair. The senator for Nairobi should simply support the motion and sit down instead of calling shortman syndrome. Otherwise, you cannot threaten us, senator for Nairobi. For the first time, I have also spoken about this thing of threatening, and you know I rarely speak about these matters of things that look like discipline.
Senator, I hope you will take the wisdom of that objection from Senator Madago.
Madam Speaker, I am not obliged to be lectured to listen to anyone. We have children. If you feel the need to lecture anyone, go home and lecture your children. I was not elected here to be lectured by anyone. Madam Speaker, let me proceed to second the motion. That is a fact. Madam Speaker, under Article 37, and I'm very happy this afternoon the person on the seat is a lawyer. Madam Speaker, because I will be speaking to you, I am happy to be speaking to a colleague in the profession, that under Article 37, we are all allowed to peacefully and unarmed participate in demonstrations, to picket, and to present petitions to public, Madam Speaker, we have the right to present petitions to public authorities. We in the opposition, because we are the primary exercisers of these rights, have gone a step further to go have this matter litigated so that the bounds of these particular rights can actually be delineated. We have prosecuted this matter before the High Court, Madam Speaker, and the High Court has very clearly spelled out, under the exercise of these rights, the responsibilities of the conveners of the Maandamano and the responsibility of the police, Madam Speaker. Having complied with the requirements under the law, in fact, the law as it is right now under the Public Order Act, all that is required is a notification to the police that you will be holding these peaceful processions. Madam Speaker, indeed, the coalition called Azimio la Umoja did notify the Nairobi County Commander via writing, a written letter, that we would be undertaking this Maandamano. It was also shocking to us, therefore, Madam Speaker, to hear the police in Nairobi declaring that the planned procession by Azimio was unlawful. And we, because we understand that under the protection of the Constitution, we do not need anybody's permission, we said we would proceed anyway. And that is exactly what we did, Madam Speaker. I was in the company of my colleagues here when we set out from these premises to KICC, which, by the way, Madam Speaker, is an extension of Parliament, because that's where our offices are as senators in this republic. We were surprised to meet the OCS of the KICC, and without any reason, excuse, he just decided to tear gas members of Parliament. And you could see, Madam Speaker, me following him to ask him, what is it that we have committed so grave that you want to tear gas us? Madam Speaker, we have decided that there will be individual responsibility on police officers. Not every police officer on that day misbehaved. And we have said kudos to all the police officers who observed Article 37. But there are few elements who still don't understand the breadth of this particular right, Madam Speaker. We have identified the OCS for KICC and a DCI officer, Madam Speaker, who was targeting members, including myself, with live rounds on Wabera Street, Madam Speaker. I want to tell the people who laugh and joke about these matters, luckily, because all of you are my colleagues, in the event that I meet my demise in the streets, my family has assured that they will set aside a tent for honorable senators. You might laugh and joke about these things, but you are the ones who will still come to bury me, and I'm sure you will do it gladly. Madam Speaker, I wish I had time to print out an image of a child called Master Lewis Musera, who was hit on the head in Makadara by a tear gas canister. These things people laugh and say, oh, it's just a tear gas canister. That projectile, Madam Speaker, if it is fired directly at you, from the distance at which I'm speaking to you, Madam Speaker, be assured there will be a funeral in your home area. I can assure you. So what are we doing as the leaders of the Azimio? Madam Speaker, we have seen, even in the past, there have been people who have confessed to infiltrating this opposition Maandamano and committing nefarious crimes, including people who bring old cars and burn them and say, oh, these are members of ODM. But we are going to be ever vigilant. In fact, Madam Speaker, we have said, we will not tolerate anybody calling themselves a police officer in civilian on Monday and on Thursday next week. Because that is how thugs are coming in within us, then they are harming people. Madam Speaker, what we want to do is to make sure that we exercise our rights.
Senator Sifuna, your time is up.
My mic is still on.
So, Senator Sifuna, let me give you half a minute to finish the sentence you were speaking.
Madam Speaker, we have had some very dangerous pronouncements from some of the colleagues in the political circles, talking about final solutions to certain people who they consider to be problems. I am a student of history, Madam Speaker, as you are as well. You remember the question of the final solution of the Jews in Europe. We shouldn't be using such language. By the time you are resorting to violence, it means you have lost the argument. Engage us in robust debate the way we are doing here. If you are unable to engage us, please remove the police so that we can deal with you straight, mondo ko mondo. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Seconded the motion.
With all my body parts, I second the motion.
Honorable Senators, I propose the question that the Senate do now adjourn to debate this motion. Senator Karongo.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I rise to comment on the motion, you know, I rarely shout or heckle, but I want to interest you to this term, Stockholm Syndrome. That is where one falls in love with their tormentors, Madam Speaker. I'm saying that because I've been raising on a point of order, Madam Speaker. With my cool, I have not been seen by yourself, Madam Speaker, and I'm not insinuating anything, but when the people from the minority raise a point of order, even on a small thing that does not require, they're given an opportunity. Kindly check on that. Madam Speaker, I'm just giving out the information because it's going to happen as we watch. Just see. Madam Speaker, I rise here to say one thing. The side of the minority, whatever happens, first of all, I do not support police brutality. I do not support when the people are beaten up, are injured, or are shot by the police, Madam Speaker. But I want you to remember the side of the minority. They are on record saying, ndio baba awe, lazima watu kadhaa wafe, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the side of the minority, every time there is demonstration, they hide their goons within the police so that they can kill a few people and then come and set the agenda on this house, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker,
They sit down after the demonstration and say, how many people did we kill? How many people died? How many people? So that, Madam Speaker, I need to be heard.
Let me give direction.
Madam
Let
Speaker.
him finish. I allowed the motion to be moved and seconded. This is the first response on the debate. Let him finish.
Madam Speaker, I can equally be a heckler. It's only I restrain myself. It should be known by the member of the minority. Madam Speaker, we had something that looked like a demonstration in Nairobi on Monday, Madam Speaker. Because it was not a demonstration. When people demonstrate on top of cars, that's not a demonstration, it's a caravan, Madam Speaker. What I'm trying to demonstration, you walk with your people. You don't get in when they're harmed, you sneak yourself in the car, and then you pretend that you're demonstrating on behalf of your people. We did not have that, Madam Speaker. And what was there was for them to look for an opportunity to harm the people of Nairobi, to harm the people of Kisumu, and some people of Migori, Madam Speaker. We have to say enough is enough. And this is why we are asking on this floor whether one, Raila Amolo Odinga, is above the law, Madam Speaker. I urge the police and the president, arrest the man. Let's see what will happen. What will happen? People will go to bed. People will go to sleep. People will go on with whatever they are doing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to remind this House. Madam Speaker, I want to remind this House that we cannot at every day, talk about this side of the minority. Madam Speaker, when we talk about heckling, yeah, they brought about the motion. Madam Speaker, we want them to be investigated. We want everybody. And they're even cowards. They are doing demonstration inside KICC, where there is a protection area. Get out of the streets if you're real and you want to do these demonstrations. They had to wait for Baba. Nobody could walk without Baba. And that's what I'm saying. He is the reason why some people died on that day. He is the reason why our people lost their properties. He is the reason why that people did not go on with their businesses. Madam Speaker, we want that man arrested, and you know the sun will come from that side and will go to the other side and nothing will happen, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, today, because of what has been happening, I urge these members of this side of the divide, Madam Speaker, the majority. Now lose your cool. Lose your cool. Let's not sit here because when they're heckling, we can equally heckle, we can equally hold shots, we can equally do what they can do, even better, Madam Speaker. So it is time we lose our cool and meet them, as they said, mondo ko mondo, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Senators, I gave a direction today that this House will conduct business through proper motions and through proper debates. Shouting down one another is not going to achieve the business of the day. And it is not going to be the style when the Speaker is on the chair. I will now call Senator... No, I'm following some certain order, not what the House is shouting. So, Senator Eddie, you are next on the order list. You have your few minutes. Not but. Do the debate. You have the floor.
Madam Speaker, this House is becoming ungovernable. And I think it's very important, Madam Speaker, that boss, you cannot go and tell me what to do. You are not. I will shout at you. You're not going to tell me what to do in this House. I did not come here with your permission. Yes, but then you're not a chair. Don't shout here. You don't.
Honorable Senators. Honorable Senators.
Madam Speaker, protect me, Madam Speaker.
I have pleaded several times.
In the House all the time.
Honorable Senators, I have pleaded several times that we maintain order in the House. The Speaker will now take action against any senator found to be out of order. So, maintain the cool.
Yes, Madam
Let's
Speaker.
do the debate.
I agree with you, Madam Speaker. And Madam Speaker, before I prosecute my thoughts on this matter, Madam Speaker, I think that the frustration that is coming in this house over and over is the simple issue of not implementing the rules of this house, Madam Speaker. If an honorable member in this house can decide to call a name of anybody who there is no a substantive motion to be discussed in this house, the way we have seen the senator of Kiambu discussing Honorable Raila Odinga without a substantive motion in this house, Madam Speaker, what are we doing? In every single bit of discussion of this house, Madam Speaker, help us enforce the laws of this house. Because there's no way you can allow Senator Tangwa to talk about an individual who is not here at all. Because if this happens, is it, do you want to pour water on me? Because if this keeps on happening, Madam Speaker, we will have a problem. But that said, Madam Speaker, we are seeing in this country, we going back to the dark days of Kanu. And this is because, Madam Speaker, the use of force and unwarranted force by the police in this country that we saw in the demonstration does not stop with anybody but the president of this country. Because, Madam Speaker, don't shout, don't be a heckler one. Madam Speaker, it's very critical that you note the following. You know, there are people in government today, Madam Speaker, whose cases were withdrawn in IECC. And those cases that were withdrawn were not acquittal. If we start using the police against people who are simply demonstrating, Madam Speaker, we have seen in countries like the US, where people even demonstrate outside State House. People demonstrate outside Parliament. Tanga was talking here about some of us waiting for Raila Odinga to come and demonstrate. Madam Speaker, I personally left this place on the same day and started walking to KICC. Raila Odinga was not there, and I was tear-gassed. Tear-gas cannons I was thrown in on my own car. Madam Speaker, if we don't stop the police brutality that is meted by the RUTO regime in this country will go back to the Kanu days. Wacha kushout Mandago. Wewe pia utaanza kupigwa na tear gas. Don't shout here. Don't just.
Good senators, honorable senators. Once again,
this is what I say. People keep on shouting here against your own.
Honorable senators.
I am a senator and I'm supposed to be heard in silence.
Honorable senators.
Gloria is shouting. This hooligan here is shouting. Another hooligan there is shouting.
Eddie, when I'm addressing the house, you ought to listen, not continue shouting. Resume your seat. Resume your seat, Eddie. Resume your seat, Eddie. Resume your seat, Eddie. Eddie, if I have to, Senator Eddie, if I have to warn you again, I will rule you out of order, and you might have to exit. Senator Essie. Senator Essie. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I also want to be heard in total silence. Madam Speaker, I want to be heard in total silence.
Order, senators. Honorable senators, resume your seats. Resume your seats. Senator Eddie. Senator Eddie, while on your feet, I heard you use the word hooligans. Senator Eddie, resume your seat, Senator Madzayo. Senator Madzayo, the Speaker is intelligent enough to understand the meaning of some of these English words you are throwing around in this house. I will request the senators not to use insults within the precincts of this building against any senator. That is a firm directive until we finish the debate today. Resume your seat, Senator Medhu. Resume your seat, Senator. All the senators, resume your seats. All the senators, Senator Essie, resume your seat. All the senators. Senators, this is your house to make or to break. The trend we are taking right now does not look good at all. It is looking bad. And those who are shouting, it could actually be looking worse on those who are shouting when I'm addressing the House. I think we ought to have respect for the chair and respect for the House. When I call Senator Essie to address the House, I will request silence and not shouting or trading of words across when a senator is on her feet, because it then means you don't respect the House or the orders or the debater, the person who is debating. Can we have, I am giving directive once again, and finally, before I finally take action against defying senators, Senator Essie, proceed.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to say that I want to be heard in silence.
Resume your seat, Senator Eddie.
You can't keep reminding us of being heard in silence, and when other people rise to speak, you do not want to engage. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to clearly state that it's a greatest height of hypocrisy when the members of the opposition go out there demonstrating, then come here demanding that they are given an opportunity for dialogue. It's in this same House where we have complained about statements taking forever, and they have been given an opportunity to now engage cabinet secretaries, and they end up terming it as unconstitutional. Then they want to resolve to Maandamano. Madam Speaker, I'm afraid I will not prosecute my issue.
Senators, resume your seats. Senator Wabua, you are out of order. Senator Chiradige, resume your seats. Resume your seats. Resume your seats, senators. Resume your seat. Senator Chiradige. Senator Eddie, Senator Chiradige, resume your seats. Resume your seats. Senator Chiradige. Senator Chiradige, you resume your seat. I will rule you out of order if you don't obey what the chair is saying. Resume your seat. Senator Eddie, that is out of order. That serves as a final warning. Senator Essie, you address the House, and you'll be accorded the respect that is deserved of every senator. Address the House.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. At least I have an opportunity to be heard in silence. I rarely speak on such occasions when noise is being made all over, but today I had to speak. It is a height of hypocrisy when the opposition keeps demonstrating out there and have been asking for dialogue. This afternoon, we had an opportunity for them to support the motion that is approving cabinet secretaries.
Senator Essie is first addressing the House.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to repeat, it is a height of hypocrisy when the opposition keeps demonstrating out there, asking for dialogue, and when an opportunity arises in this House, this afternoon we saw, they were very adamant to support the motion that is going to admit cabinet secretaries to be answerable to members of this House. Then in return, they will say that their issues are not being handled. What hypocrisy is this, Madam Speaker? I saw my respected minority leader was arrested and is out, of course, because he's a man of means. The other Azimio protesters are not yet out. Even as the slay queens kept admiring how endowed you were, and they kept scavenging. Minority leader, I do not think we keep demanding for We do not want to keep demanding for dialogue, then we want to paralyze business in this house. The president had an agenda which we as government are going to push and ensure the Kenya Kwanza manifesto is achieved. Madam Speaker, we cannot allow Maandamano whereby people's property are affected, businesses are paralyzed, all in the name of dialogue and wanting to sneak through a handshake. We are not going to have a handshake in this country. That was a bad governance experiment we ever experimented in this country. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gloria, what's your point of order? I will give 1 point of order this side and 1 point of order on the minority.
Madam Speaker, I want to stand on a point of order. You have spoken about language. You have spoken about parliamentary language as a woman who is sometimes mistaken and actually sometimes is abused. I want to ask that Senator Essie withdraw. You cannot call people slay queens. Yeah, the issue of slay queens, Madam Speaker, please let her withdraw it.
Senator Essie.
Because I was making reference to slay queens out there who are admiring the assets of the minority leader. Why should I withdraw that?
I will give 1 point of order. Point of order to Senator Ledama. I will give you 1 minute. 1 minute only.
Madam Speaker, with all due respect, I stand on point of order number 98. I want to beseech our colleagues that we are all respected, distinguished members who represent our counties. The way we are carrying ourselves this afternoon is not distinguished. I may want to just request, and the reason why I stood on point of order number 98, Madam Speaker, is because point of order number 98 states as follows. Any senator may raise a point of order at any time during the speech of another senator, stating that the senator raised a point of order and that the senator shall be required to indicate the standing order upon which the point of order is based on. Madam Speaker, there are two issues here. While you're on your feet, two of our colleagues here were insulting each other. It is not right. It is not right. We're here discussing a very important matter. Can I just request, Madam Speaker, that we act as honorable members? Today we are not being honorable. Madam Speaker, on our side here, we have noticed our distinguished senator from Migori. When he was speaking here, he was interrupted, and maybe because of the noise back and forth, he had not finished prosecuting his issues. I want to request you, Madam Speaker, when you sit in that chair, to be able to look at both sides and not to hesitate. Not to hesitate, Madam Speaker. And I wish
wind up, Senator.
I wish the majority side would just give me an ear, because I want to remind you, and today this is the last word I'm going to give you today again. Power has gotten into your head, and power is transit. So, Madam Speaker, I know you are a member of the other side, but when you sit there, you must be impassioned.
Senators,
you must be
order.
We cannot carry ourselves as if we are, we really cannot carry ourselves as if we are not distinguished members. We are reducing this house to a very noisy club where our own views cannot be heard. If the honorable members do not, and I will restrict myself to calling them honorable, although the actions are not honorable this afternoon. But I want to say this, Madam Speaker. I want to beseech your chair to be impartial. I want to beseech your chair to be fair when it comes to allowing allowing us. Madam Speaker, if my side of the minority side was the one which was heckling or talking right now, you would be actually saying you're out of order. But when the majority leader is leading his entire troop to be able to violate the standing orders, you are quiet. That, Madam Speaker, leads a lot to be desired.
Senator Ledama, I gave you 1 minute to raise that point of order. We are seeking for order in the House. Let continually lead by example. If the chair gives you 1 minute, stick to the 1 minute. Make your point. And honorable senators, this afternoon, honorable senators, this afternoon, you could have done better. Senator Eddie, your time was up. The system kept the time, and you were timed out by the system as you were making side issues as part of your debate. We proceed on to Senator Chiradige.
Madam Speaker, I rise to oppose the motion by Senate Minority Leader, Madam Speaker, with the strongest terms possible. Madam Speaker, what we saw on Monday was an abuse of Article 37, where they end the beginning of a right of another person is the start of another right.
Senators on majority side, can you maintain some order?
Madam Speaker, I have seen that in Azimio 1 Kenya lands, they have what we call sympathy addiction. The allegation that they are saying police shot at the vehicles of their leaders is their own bodyguards who are shooting at them so that they can get sympathy addiction from the public, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, are you aware, Madam Speaker, that 24 police officers were injured? Madam Speaker, 10 police vehicles were damaged. 7 officers were injured in Nyanza, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the administration we saw on Monday were only in 3 places: Migori, Kisumu, and Kibra. There was no anywhere else that the country went to demonstration, Madam Speaker. These people are economic saboteurs. Over 2 billion was lost, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, my colleagues in Kenya Kwanza as lawyers, we are collecting and doing quantum and quantifying the losses that was done by demonstrators of Azimio and 1 Kenya lands. Madam Speaker, on Monday, we are moving to court to sue Raila Odinga, to sue Kalonzo Musyoka, to sue Wajakoya, among others, Madam Speaker, to ensure they compensate the farmers, even including Senator Matzayo. We shall sue them, Madam Speaker, and ensure they compensate, Madam Speaker. I want to, Madam Speaker, the issue of elections, Madam Speaker, because I am still within time. Madam Speaker, the holy man of Ramadan, Madam Speaker, and Senator Stewart Matzayo comes from the region. The holy month of Ramadan, Madam Speaker, is beginning tomorrow or next week, Madam Speaker. Can these people respect the Muslims as they are starting their holy month of Ramadan, Madam Speaker, where they are supposed to be praying, to be generous, to be peace-loving, Madam Speaker? Madam Speaker, number 4, I want to assure the minority side that there is no handshake, there is no cooperation, there is no nusumkate, whether they demonstrate on Monday or on Thursday, Madam Speaker, and I want to commend the police. They must deal ruthlessly with these hooligans, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the police of the city of Nairobi that the property and lives of Kenyans must be protected, Madam Speaker. If there is an issue of one person that died in Maseno, Madam Speaker, and we empathize and sympathize with the family, there is Independent Policing Oversight Authority. There is DCIO. Madam Speaker, if they want to accuse the police, there are agencies and entities that are in place, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, finally, the sponsors, including the former president who are sponsoring demonstrations, they are sponsoring because, Madam Speaker, there is investigation into corruption and extrajudicial killings where even sons in Kilifi and Mombasa were being killed and taken to Rivayala and Savo. It is their people, including Kilifi. I went to Kilifi, Madam Speaker, when I was the chair of human rights. There are many extrajudicial killings in Kilifi, Madam Speaker. When the president is talking about finishing the issue of extrajudicial killings, Madam Speaker, I must be heard in silence. I must be heard in silence, Madam Speaker. I must be heard in silence. We shall not be intimidated.
I will call you.
We shall not be blackmailed, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker.
Wind up, Senator Cheralige. Can you resume your seat? You'll get a chance.
During the handshake moment, during the handshake government,
Senator Mazayo, I said, Senator Mazayo, you are out of order. I will now ask you, Senator Mazayo, resume your seat. Resume your seat. You are out of order, Senator Mazayo. I will now ask the Sergeant at Arms to ask. I ask you to resume your seat. Resume your seat. It's that simple. I will give you your time to respond. Resume your seat. Say your final remark, then you sit.
Correct. Madam Speaker, I will not
Senator
be intimidated.
Mazayo,
I will not be shouted at. I will not be blackmailed. I can tell you I will speak. I will not be silenced. I am not a coward. What can you do to me? No, don't threaten me, my friend. You cannot threaten me. Wewe kitu kidogo sana. Madam Speaker, in conclusion. Madam Speaker, in conclusion, the sponsors of Maandamano over Azimio, Madam Speaker, are the people who want to prevent investigation in extrajudicial killings and corruption. And that is Uhuru Kenyatta. He must stop sponsoring Maandamano, Madam Speaker. Thank you.
Sit. Eddie, Senator Eddie, I want to give you an opportunity to raise your point of order. But before I do that, let me issue this caution. Increasingly, there is a lot of disrespect in the manner in which you are handling business in this House. As I give you this opportunity, it rides with a warning that you cannot be shouting at a debater on the floor when you still get your chance to speak your point. So I give you, but it's with a caution.
Madam Speaker, once again, protecting for majority leader. Madam Speaker, once again, and I want to execute this in a very humble manner, Madam Speaker. We are pleading with you that let the rules of this House be adhered to. Madam Speaker, Cherargei, let me call him Senator Cherargei has several times spoken and called individuals that are senior members of this society names on this floor. And our standing orders, Madam Speaker, do not allow us to bring anybody's name in this House without a substantive motion. The reason why you might see us as chaotic and shouting is because there is no way these people to keep on calling other people names and you allow it. Cherargei has just called the minority leader here a killer. And Madam Speaker, you did not mention anything about it. So we are pleading with you to please execute the rules of this House.
Senator Kenywa.
Madam Speaker, Madam Speaker, nashukuru kwa kunipa fursa hii. Madam Speaker, mswada ulioko leo nataka kusema ya kwamba ni vizuri umeletwa leo ndio watu waweze kuongea. Kulingana na katiba ya Kenya, kipengee namba 37 inasema vizuri sana, maandamano yanapaswa yafanywe, lakini yafanywe kwa amani. Na ikifanywa kwa amani, watu kubeba mawe ni jambo ambalo linaudhi sana. Kuwashambulia Wakenya wengine na kuwaibia ni jambo ambalo halikubaliki, Bwana Speaker. Na Bwana Speaker, mimi niliona maandamano hayo yakiwa watu wanatembea hapa mjini, wakafanya maduka ya watu wafungwe. Bwana Speaker, watu wakashambuliwa, hata iko wengine tayari wako mochari, Speaker.
Na ni ukweli julikane, Speaker, mimi naheshimu kwa sababu kile ambacho kiliniudhi zaidi, niliona hata kiongozi wa wengi ameshikwa, nikamwona wengine wote wameshikwa, Bwana Speaker.
Wind up Senator Kenywa because I want to take one more from this side.
Kwa hivyo Bwana Speaker, mimi nataka kusema ya kwamba ni vizuri julikane historia ya yule ambaye anaongoza haya maandamano, Speaker. Tunamjua ya kwamba alifanya maandamano, akasumbua Moi, akamfanya waziri, akafurahi. Kutoka hapo Bwana Speaker, akafanya maandamano tena. Speaker, akafanya maandamano wakati wa Kibaki, akafanywa waziri mkuu. Akafanya maandamano wakati wa Uhuru Kenyatta, akasalimiwa. Speaker, ukiona jina ODM inamaanisha one dangerous man. Na anajulikana ni nani? Speaker, anajulikana. Kwa hivyo Speaker, inapaswa ijulikane vizuri ya kwamba hata
Time up, Senator Kenywa. Time up, Senator Kenywa. Let's have Senator Wambua. The light and swan. Oh, it's 6:30. Senator Wambua, unfortunately, it's 6:30. Unfortunately. Honorable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m. Time to adjourn the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned until tomorrow, Thursday, 23rd March 2023 at 2:30 p.m.